here.
Yeah.
See, like, I try to that's my God. Yeah, no,
I think
it's just the idea. I moved to New Day. Google wanted me out, and I'm done. The news reaction. Video. Anywhere.
oh, thanks. I gotta
Yeah, ready. Dot add dot hard.
Yeah, as long as if they have one.
I got like more.
Yeah, I got yours in
so I started going to
There's a basic function too. I'm not sure. I think they're like the second. Yeah, as far as size and viewership goes. And the dude's a super big fan of alternative media. So he took all of our YouTube content and moved it over to Daily Motion for free. And he's like, you can embed it, modify it. Yeah, every day. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And then Cloud Air started on it.
I actually I have like the white room, it was 3% extra. It has to be something. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think it just
Thank you.
Actually, a lot of traveling around you're here.
Yeah. Are you still in scene? You still see that as
yeah.
Well, there's options. I like the algorithm instead of how it's designed. Daniel Emerald was involved.
Right.
And really understanding it's good. And it's a community, so you know if you can deal with that community. Yeah.
Yeah, because my experience is that like the censorship algorithm and everything, it's in there, it's just like on explaining it to people and them wanting to know all the ins and outs. It's just like, well, explain first, small, and yeah, in that. So that just makes the big.
Yeah, that's encourages education.
There's a more fun, yeah.
But maybe in May or so, yeah.
That's actually that's up to months, you know.
Yes.
Just use your operation and say, what? Yeah, that idea.
So how do you do that?
Well, through your delegations, right, where you know all the people, and every day I have these things are working on us. Yep. Just really awesome. All of it. All guys. Yeah, oh yeah, so at one point he's not really yes. Just you know,
That's what happened to all of us. We got Big share.
Oh, this is all bases, man. Yes, that's what I did.
Oh, yeah.
Man, that would be insane. Yeah, well, we need some president Senate cases.
I started working on my issues.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you read that Constitution again. And then fucking over something like your plan.
Oh, yeah, I did.
But that was okay.
Yeah, halfway right, and after the chance, how are you? I don't know that. Yes. Right.
No, I think it was you got a little energy. No, it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
It's like someone's on this right there. Your photography is awesome. I always see you guys like, man, your followers are awesome. We've got some ways to go. But that's it. It's awesome. It's seriously. I don't know, maybe Broze.
Should probably put something up there that
Because there's probably like 40 people trying to connect to it right now. And wonder what's going on.
yeah, that people text me.
We are.
So we should call it. Give them a message that we're starting momentarily.
How is Steven? Yeah, I think I gave up this whole thing. Yeah, it seems to just sort of run wild. I think it was a good experiment.
Yeah.
He's good. Snacks.
Roll on two.
Yeah. Right.
2. 1, 2, distance.
I feel like when I was posting, like low money, and it was still equal to like half people understanding like views for $1 to reinsert, and I also felt like nobody was really actually watching content. I didn't feel like I care about like
1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Continue. Let me speak to the guy.
Check.
They want to know if they actually have permission to start all of your songs.
Mic check.
I have one. Yeah, when you get here, just let the people here know. Yes, we just spoke to the once you have permission to park. Yep, you're welcome. Sorry.
Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. The speakers are probably using this mic. Mic check.
Don't know about the
Mic check. Hello. Hello. Can you guys hear me? Everybody hear me all right? Is that good? Better?
I usually do want to go to request. Oh, really? Yeah, awesome. My monitors are like right now it's in DC. So like my monitor, like whenever I can afford like a house, my vote would be somewhere near DC. I think that's like what I do. Somewhere. That's the thing. I know that I need access to the city, but like I kind of hate the city. It's like oh yeah, I remember actions where like having people yell at buildings, but like on my own, like I'd rather live like a four like it's like a total like psychotic situation. Yeah, so it'd be awesome to just have like yeah, I'm like 3 hours away. It's scary. You're bored. Yeah. You drive a lot. Yeah. So okay. You're like but less reason. Not bad. Very good. Remember I was told you that. Yeah, so I haven't seen it, but like I saw this I was like, for like a 50 years, that means for a 55. And it's amazing to me that I guess some reactions still pretty well, there's a lot of people oh yeah.
actually.
I know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Save money, 24.
Yeah, mine's all. I'm totally fine, but oh yeah, that's, I wouldn't. Yeah, we had done. Yeah. Yes.
Crazy guy all over the place. I can't
Oh, without, I can't talk about mouths. Yeah, you're not gonna. Right. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, if I have like
Yes. Right, right. But yeah, but it's all like security.
having a hard time for knowing constantly.
Oh, yeah, cancer.
It's 6 tests, like a regular, healthcare.
Yo, mic check, mic check, mic check.
Oh, you have that time with that. They're gonna like this one.
Something I've been finding is the thing I found last year is like when you drop the video, you're supposed to react to it like she reactions and then wait to get the notes. I noticed that they makes you tells me that we're sharing it like their friends are so it's not easy. So although it's simply just like lowering audiences from aspect of it, like the other aspect is that like shares me less. So it's effectively like maybe like a mixed favor, like people are it's like
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Which is unfortunate. How excited you guys have to drop off? It's going to be on your phone. You're like,
I think that's so the thing is right now, right now it's like
That's a good tool here.
I mean, it's only
I loved it actually. I was like, I just sat in the bed and I read a book.
So it was basically 1 year that they had that like counter. I love that basically trying to like friends and that was so much.
I'll let you know how like that.
So friends were seeing friends were going to go through that, but friends weren't seeing other friends were sharing. So I mean, one of the things that I had like three. I had like three. You can't take my copy of the I'm gonna get so one of the I feel like the biggest one of the like when these so like I know this, but I saw like sharing
Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Yeah.
So my feeling is that we should, for lack of better together such that when one of us is taking down a sensor, that's the person who can actually speak out in their own. We should sort of have a collective in which when someone is censored, the rest of us can respect what it is. Whatever it is, whatever the case may be, like, that the rest of us are able to. So on YouTube, I had a video. So I mean, this is not first thing. On YouTube, I had a video. And retrospectively, they're actually they went back and they did was they declared that it's just like free. So like you can access so but like and it's not even like I have such a self first of all I think it's fine but it basically comes a lot so it practically and it also so my feeling is that we all need to feel this thing out, and it would be good to see what's happening. Everybody's sharing I was just that. We were censored. Whatever the
Mic check. Can you hear me? Zoom call. Zoom call.
So okay, so that's one idea. Another idea is that, like, I think part of the reason that people see indie media as like, I mean, some of it just looks okay back, like it looks and I think one thing that could add to the organization of such media would be to have some kind of fancy organization. So like these, I actually like the Associated Press is not it's not a legal nonprofit.
All right, guys, we're getting ready to start in just a second. Sorry about the delay.
It might make sense to have something called.
We can get everybody to the front of the stage, closer together, and get started on introductions.
Sort of like the
To the front of the stage, congregate, please. Find some seats near the front of the stage.
So like, and I hate having it like the problem with
Check, check.
Yes.
Check, 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 check. All right. All right. Got the phone down. So.
Yeah, you'd be like, well, we should all speak together. So, but that's the thing. I don't want
All right, y'all.
The last one, I think all these are my understanding is the greater alignment is going to be honest. So what I was going to say,
Check.
Like Google has like certain websites are approved as like actual space. It's shockingly just share actually managed to get that for 3 years. Like me applying, like it lets you apply once every like fiscal quarter, so like every 90 days. I like applied and was like I'm going to start and I 3 years finally I guess but so like similarly like mine actually campus with
Be authoritarian. Tell us.
Yeah, I can hear you. We'll get more coffee. I'll be right back.
Hey, we know you guys are giving us a lot of you guys are all about it.
So they only need to turn on when you talk.
Okay, so YouTube videos.
Let's go, Jay.
Check. What is yeah, so
I'm trying to see what's
check.
Hey, Danny, turn his one of those channels. I think number 2 with Mike's.
Check.
That off. That's not here.
Check.
One of them doesn't have the mic.
Check. The thing that Google does pretty well is it's realizing whether different
Check.
What's that? So it's like if I
Check.
Microphone check. Check.
it's still
Check.
So you still unless you actually search.
Okay, got it. Check.
I think it just matters.
Check.
I have no solution. I like YouTube's comments are just like they're just plain like just terrible.
Check.
How do these people exist? Oh yeah.
Check. All right, guys, we're gonna get this started. You guys want to come on closer to the front? We're not talking to you guys in the back. Check.
Anyways, but
Check. Hey, Steve, can we get some more light right up here? Thank you. Who put that there?
Let me see.
Danny, is the Zoom still going? Zoom? Cool. All right.
Let me see.
All right, yeah, everybody who wants to come up a little bit closer, we do finally got the Zoom call. I know we're about an hour behind, 30 minutes behind. We wanted to start, but we're just going to be really brief on me and Jason introducing what we're doing here and just reemphasizing some points, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with introductions. And this is kind of a big room for those of us that are here, but it's still cool at the same time. Hey, everybody. So we do have the Zoom people watching. They're watching from back there. They should be able to hear and see what we're doing. And some of them will be talking as well. So once we get this projector running, we'll actually see them talking. But so the whole reason we're doing this is because I think we all realize it's necessary no matter what outlet you are with, or if you're an activist on the ground, or if you're an organizer, if you're a documentary filmmaker or a crypto person. We've got a whole mix of people. We've got lawyers, we've got people who are on the financial side, but all of us seem to have a vested interest in keeping independent media alive and keeping independent content, independent thinking alive. Whether we're, again, activists on the ground or the journalists, we all have a vested interest. So this idea was supposed to happen 2 years ago before Trump got elected, because we felt this same thing going on. We knew that people were disappointed about Bernie Sanders and they didn't like Hillary Clinton, and they were disappointed they didn't like Trump. And unfortunately, it didn't happen at that time. And then recently, Jason and I, once the purge happened, we're pretty much like, all right, it needs to happen now or we're all done, you know? So we really see this as a good opportunity. Maybe today could be the beginning of something continuous, maybe every couple months, once a year, I don't know. But we're just excited to bring everybody together. The amount of awesome people we have here and people who are online are really powerful people. And other people who are going to be participating throughout the day, we're just stoked about it. So please do take today as serious as you need to. We are on limited time. We'll have a lunch break at noon. I've got a food truck coming outside, so we don't have to go too far for those who want to do that. And then we'll just pick back up at like 1:30. And yeah, just lots of ideas to share. And hopefully this is the beginning of new relationships, even beyond the 8 hours we're here today. But while you're in the city, make contacts, like go home with new information. But I guess I'll start. You good over there? Does that love come on? All right, well, my brief intro is, of course, you know, my name's Derick. I'm here. I live in this city. The reason that I think it was important, besides the stuff I just said, is because I've definitely been directly affected by everything going on. I lost all my jobs, you know, from this purge, and even before the purge, I was writing for Ben Swan's website and Anti-Media and Free Thought Project and a number of other websites, which all by June or July 1st told me, sorry, we're letting all of our writers go. We can't pay anybody anymore. And then a couple months later, the purge happened. So I have a financial interest as well as obviously caring about these issues and trying to keep surviving. And whoa, that is really bright. And trying to keep surviving while spreading truth and things like that. So this is the only thing I do. This is the only thing I care about. It's the only thing that has ever given me the amount of purpose that I have in my life right now. And I would like to figure out how we can keep it alive. That's really all.
Thanks, Derick. Well, yeah, I'm a bit of an overthinker, so I wrote down some words here. That's, of course, a blessing and a curse. But so thank you guys all for being here. Definitely awesome. Big thanks to Mr. Broze for finding this venue and for hopefully getting those donuts.
They're coming. They're coming.
At some point here. But yeah, people from the left, the right, libertarians, anarchists, we're all here. We believe all ideas have merit, not just the establishment approved ones, right? So even me and Derick have some differences and opinions on certain issues, but we're here to meet in the middle for our common goals. So, you know, one thing that is always certain about the future is it always brings change. So it's up to us to plan as best we can and prepare for what's happening next. And also just, some people have come up to me and thanked me for putting on this event. And I just want to make clear that this isn't my event, this isn't Derick's event, this is all of our event. So let's make the most out of it. And just a few things about myself. I think most of you guys know me, but my name's Jason Bassler. I'm the founder of Police to Police and Free Thought Project, co-founder with Maddie Savoy right here. Activist since the start of the Iraq War, abolitionist for 5 years now. I certainly like that word. When I first started paying attention and getting involved in all this, I really didn't know where I fit in, but I was inspired by people like Derick and Nick, who I think is showing up at some point today. But I just started creating pages and accounts on social media sites and started making memes, and somehow it led me here with all you wonderful people. About 3 months ago, actually to the day, Facebook and Twitter coordinated to remove our pages and accounts, totaling 6 million fans. It's a hard pill to swallow, as you can imagine. So let's be honest, you know, social media companies are just as complicit as mainstream media companies at this point. They might even be worse. So here I am with you lovely folks in Houston. So let's strategize and put our heads together. It'll only make us stronger. So I think we're going to do some intros, start off with some intros, and then from there we'll do some... That's Gavin, by the way. It's a new kind of human. He's an awesome dude. So after that, we're going to do some presentations, and hopefully we'll move to the other room to do like a roundtable discussion and actually talk about all the stuff that we're coming up with today and try to make some solid plans for the future. So do we have any volunteers for the first person to do their intro? Anyone? Anyone? Please? Baby? Come on up, dude.
And remember, we got about like 2 minutes for everybody.
I'll actually stay on that, yeah, thank you.
Oh, this is the introduction.
Maybe I could just pass. Okay, I'll pick somebody. That sounds fun. So it's Fernando Business. I've been doing emancipated human for, I don't know, 6-7 years. I was doing VEs for volunteering with Jason. I'm a leadership development consultant, and I actually teach volunteerism in the corporate world. So I get to see that, and it's very exciting to see a bunch of big bad capitalists always trying to make parks and save the world and all that good stuff. My YouTube got taken down. The Facebook page got hijacked. I've been doxxed. I've been, through the ringer to the point where like shit doesn't even like stress me anymore. It's like, oh, another day, same thing. So just here trying to be with you guys, see what we can come up with. Really excited about getting to actually be all of you in person. So that's me.
I'm Mark. I had about 6-7 million fans taken away in the Facebook purge. My partner and I started another social media site called Spreely.
Can we speak up a little bit, please? Sorry.
No problem. Yeah. My name's Mark. I lost a bunch of fans in the Facebook purge, and I've been dealing with Facebook censorship for a while, so I reached out to my buddy over here, Peter, who's an attorney who's representing Prager against YouTube in their First Amendment case. And I thought it'd be important to be here today so Peter gets a chance to talk to everyone and explain what we're doing from a legal standpoint to challenge these things.
Yeah, my name is Peter Obsler. I'm a partner at the law firm of Brown George Ross, formerly with the law firm of Arnold and Porter, Bingham McCutcheon, O'Melveny and Myers, meaning if it was bad in the world, I was probably involved. No, did some good. But yeah, I represent Mark. I represent PragerU in the case before the Ninth Circuit in the recent state case that was filed, and am very interested in working with people to try to enforce legal rights as opposed to political rights or other things that you can do through Congress and the media and things like that. And I was hoping I could give a 5 or 10 minute presentation just quickly on the overview of the legal rights that you do have, what works, what doesn't work, and hopefully help you all out. I also want to introduce my partner and very good friend, Sean Walsh, who has a long history, and some of you may know.
I'm a partner of Peter's. We have a consulting firm within our law firm, and we do a whole host of issues. We interact with a broad spectrum of folks in the media perspective, generally in a litigation support context. So if we get involved in a matter, we don't just simply allow lawyers to argue it out in court, but we engage at multiple levels, both in the media sphere with the activist groups and third-party validators. So when we take something on, we take it on as a whole package as opposed to just simply a lawsuit or litigation side.
Hey, Zoom call, can you hear me? Zoom call, can you hear me? This is the Zoom mic. We're setting up the Zoom mic. That's the Zoom. Hello, Zoom. Have you got the mic?
Hi, I'm Anita MonCrief. I'm an activist, organizer, and trainer. I've been doing this for about 20 years. I've worked with groups like Acorn, spent some time working with the Koch brothers, and then I realized both sides were evil. And I started doing independent work, trying to unite everyone together. I've done some humanitarian work in Puerto Rico, North Carolina, Florida, after the hurricanes, here in Texas as well. And I'm here today to try to see how we can all work together to get more of a collective vision towards moving people away from the system, basically.
I'm Andrew Aponick. I'm an introvert and part of my antisocialness. And I'm also sick 26 hours commute on 1 hour sleep. I've been an activist since Occupy and got real serious and then ran Solutions Institute for about 1.5 years. Then went rogue along with her. Went on the road for about now 16 months, starting here actually to Hurricane Harvey and 5 straight hurricanes later. trying to figure out a way, along with her and all you guys, how to integrate activism, journalism, and humanitarianism, because I think the world needs to help each other more. Just the act of helping itself will ignite stuff. But until we figure that out, you know, that's why we're here.
I'm Eleanor Goldfield. I'm a creative activist and a journalist. I have a show that airs on Free Speech TV called Act Out, and do community organizing as well on top of that. And I'm here because I think, like all of you, have experienced extreme censorship and crackdown from the powers that be, and want to figure out a way that we can lift each other up and pedestal each other's voices, so that we're not trying to alone go at the system and the corporate media.
Hello everyone, my name is Manar Mohawish. I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Mid-Press News. We have been dealing with censorship and suppression for a very long time as well, and we've been actually at the forefront of at least bringing attention to some of the censorship campaigns led by the powers that be. Our political cartoons have been censored, taken down, our posts have been suppressed, and our readership in general has been affected, has been down by over 60% since the Trump-Hillary election. And we've been targeted in numerous smear campaigns and attacks by very notorious neoconservative and neoliberal think tanks. And so I'm here today to hopefully, bring all of our ideas together and learn from everybody, because I know we're all in this together. And hopefully we can figure out a way on how to move forward so that we can support not just independent media, but the free flow of information, because I think our future depends on that. And there is a very big effort to control what people see, hear, and read. And while that has been taking place for a long time, with the rise of the internet and independent media across social media platforms and our success that everybody has been talking about, I think the efforts are going to get more aggressive, and hopefully I'll share some of the things that we've learned in the past week actually about a new campaign to censor information that challenges the status quo through the internet infrastructure. Thank you.
My name is Justin Harvey from Orlando. I'm organizer of We Are Change Orlando. Many of you probably are familiar with We Are Change. We do the local stuff in Orlando, probably more on the activism and the journalism side. I feel like I'm a little more involved with like the street level stuff. So we organize March Against Monsanto. We help with like the anonymous marches and, for instance, like yellow vest stuff right now. So I really hope that not only can we develop, connections to make our team stronger, but I kind of want to bridge that gap too with like with alternative media and activists on the ground, just so we can grow together and build our team as strong as possible. I've also faced some censorship. I didn't really get hit in the wave like everybody else did as in a race, but kind of been plucked along the way, as many of us can relate to. So yeah, I'm just honored to be here. There's a lot of inspiration in the room. I will say I have some familiar faces, some new ones. Just really glad to be here, and I hope that we can, get a real solution going.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tony Mead, and I am the former administrator of the Sandy Hook Hoax Facebook page, which was purged after 5 years in March of 2017, shortly after the Parkland school shooting. I'm also a co-founder of Independent Media Solidarity with Peter Klein, whose vision has always been for us, alternative media sources, to unite and be able to be a power that can stand up to mainstream media. Mainstream media has been a tool of the state, an arm of the government for decades, and the free exchange of information, which is allowed on the internet through alternative media, has always been an enemy of the state. And I think what we're seeing right now in our lifetime and in our past few years is a real attempt to stamp out the opposing voices to the government. And I'm hoping that the vision that we have seen of independent media coming together can be realized through meetings like this. I'm also involved with thesamemedia.net. I'm a published author Moonrock Books, Jim Fetzer's books, Nobody Died at Sandy Hook, and The Parkland Puzzle, available on Moonrock Books. And I'm just very appreciative to have been invited here, and I hope that we can all work together to bring about change. Thanks.
Try and join as well.
Remember, these are just your brief intro. We have time for you to talk.
So my name is Etienne de la Boetti, which is a nom de guerre that I publish under because I've got kids in the government school system where I'm trying to keep them out of dad's activism so they don't take any heat. I'm the author of a book called Understanding Our Slavery, where I try and make the case that our political issues aren't so much political issues as they are the product of intergenerational organized crime that is controlling both the government and the media and using statism and nationalism as a technique, using government schools, etc. I'm also behind something called Flash Drives for Freedom, where I'm trying to take evidence of government criminality and the alternative of voluntarism, libertarianism, and freedom, and to be able to get that out widely, uncensorable, hand to hand. And I'll tell you some more during the presentation.
Right. My name is Jimmy Calfee. I'm a open source developer, and I've been following blockchains and cryptography for 3 years. I'm studying tokenomics, how we can incentivize our efforts, become paid through safer means. I've done some talks with Empower Movement. Is a notice of liability, and it's a way to bring communities together. I believe communities are the way. Also work with privacy projects, eDNA. It's a scary topic, but very interesting. We can go into that if you like. I got introduced through Kenny's Kitchen of Steam It. I do Steam delegation and support the independent media with Kenny, and got introduced to Howard. And we really align in our views. We have an understanding of the same type of information. And my goals are community. I think I've said enough.
Hey everyone, I'm Nick Burnaby with the Anti-Media, founder of the antimedia.com. Also an activist, helped start the March Against Monsanto some years back, no longer affiliated with that organization, but helped start it up. I also was, the Anti-Media was part of, helped start the No War with Syria movement some years back, when Obama was trying to do regime change in Syria. I'm just here hoping that we could share some new ideas and hopefully get our brains clicking and hopefully maybe cooperate some more from the media perspective. And we're also part of that October 11th purge where we lost our Facebook page with over 2 million followers and a Twitter account with, I don't know, 50,000 followers or something. We've been censored pretty much since we started getting influence, first on Reddit, and then Google was like constantly censoring us, and spent a lot of resources trying to get on Google News, only to be denied literally like 20 times. So I'm hoping that we could come up with some ideas to connect directly to our audiences and get rid of these third parties that keep getting in our way of what we've earned. You know, we've earned our audiences, I feel like, and they keep taking away from us and make us work twice as hard to get them back over and over. So I'm hoping we can come up with some ideas to circumvent these third parties and work together in like a coordinated effort to do it.
My name is EJ Clinton. I'm a huge fan of the Free Thought Project, the Anti-Media, Minds Unleashed, the Activist Post, Conscious Life News. What I do is I daily check all these amazing alternative news sources, and I post them on my social media page. I've been experiencing censorship since 2012. Covering JCOM 15 basically got me like into that algorithm. And in response to this, all I've been able to do is innovate our way out of the prison that they continually try to put us into. Censorship that we're dealing with now, content deletion, restricting likes, restricting content for me to put up. This is what I've grown from doing. So coming here, having this kind of fellowship with you guys to come up with solutions and effective counters to censorship, it's a dream come true. There's nothing else for me to say other than it is an honor to be here amongst you people, and I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I can't wait to see what we come up with. I think it is apparent that mainstream media is pushing this crazy idea of pseudo-patriotism, like I was talking before, this idea of statism, where we're just believing everything that's being told by Big Brother. My whole existence is to cut that crap out and to start different. I cannot talk about anything other than doing alternative and coming up with our own independent alternative way to combat this conformity. Creativity is the only way that we're going to get out of this. Thank you.
Hey everybody, whoa.
There you go, that's what we need.
If you could speak a little bit louder.
A lot louder.
The Zoom call is having a problem picking everybody up. But I think a lot of people here know me. If you don't, my name is Danny Quest, like Johnny Quest, but with Danny. I'm a career activist, entrepreneur, work in the alternative media, behind the scenes, trying to connect people together and make the world a better place. Just really excited to be here. Thanks to Derick and Jason for putting this together. It's something we've all talked about for a long time, and it's really fascinating that it's actually happening, and I think it's a wonderful time for this to happen. It's a sequencing of media and the right individuals and time. So, sorry, I'm running. I think we have a lot of opportunity moving forward, and it's a good time for us to come together and do this. I have a presentation to give later. I just want to thank everybody for coming out and introduce myself. So who's next?
Zoom call? Anybody else out there? We still have a few more.
Hey guys, I'm Cody Adams. This is my wife, Haley Adams, and we both are writers and worked for the Homestead.guru, which we've no longer worked for because of the censorship and things that have happened. So I'm here today to start my documentary film that I'll be working with Derick Broze on, and we'll be covering this story from the beginning of social media all the way to today and the solutions that we begin to work on today. So the idea of the documentary is to highlight the negative things that have happened and use today as the solution, so people can see that we don't just have a negative story to tell, we have a story to tell of triumph. So we're here to represent the Homestead.guru and work on this project.
Hi, I'm Ford Fisher. I'm the co-founder and editor-in-chief of News to Share. It's my belief that from truth comes reason, and from reason comes liberty. So when the mainstream media lies to you, that's never in the service of more freedom. It's never in the service of more liberty. So for me, my outlet is about live streaming and raw footage, where it's indisputable sort of raw truth. And I think that that undermines mainstream media and government narratives about situations that they would like to mischaracterize to people. So it's about getting out there on the ground and covering activists and just showing the actual truth of what's happening. On the day of the large independent media purge that a lot of people in this room lost their networks, I had 8 videos that were live streams that Facebook took down and then put back and said that it was in error. And my interpretation of why that happened is it seems to me, being kind of in this general community, that I was on the chopping block. It seems like they probably had some videos flagged as the justification to take me down, and then maybe they were on the fence about it and didn't. But I think the point that can be taken away from that is that for the people who still have pages on kind of the mainstream social media on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, we're all kind of at risk, and the censorship is soft and kind of creeping in. There's the slow demonetization of YouTube where fewer and fewer of my videos are able to be monetized. On Facebook, individual videos being removed. or marked as kind of inappropriate for certain audiences, algorithmic changes that make it so that even if you're not officially banned, you're kind of shadow banned, it's harder for new people to see your stuff. And so I think that that soft censorship is creeping in, and I have some ideas today that I hope to share on working together to combat that.
Hey everyone, my name is Rachel Blevins. I've been working in the independent media for about 4.5 years now, and my page was one of the ones that was taken down in the October 11th purge, and I lost nearly 70,000 followers with that. And right now I'm working with RT America as a correspondent, and we're actually here today to cover this event and to talk to really any of you who want to talk about ways that you've been censored by Facebook or Twitter, or whether your page was completely deleted or you've just experienced a lot of throttling and you've noticed that your reach has changed, that kind of thing. Like, I'm really interested to hear more about your story, and I'm hoping that we can put something together that will shed some light on it.
Hey everybody, my name is Matt, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm Matt Savoy, but Matt Agaris from the Free Thought Project, if you don't know me. I'm here today to help to come together with these ideas and push the alternative media and independent media back to where it needs to be in the forefront. I come from a different background than probably many of you guys. I was in the Marine Corps. I was a militant neocon, somewhat of a racist asshole that was just worshiped the state. And because of alternative media, I was able to break through that paradigm and then become this person that, like, the antithesis of what my former self. And I just want to make sure that we don't lose that. We just get a hold on to that, and that's why I'm here today.
Hey everybody, I'm Joey. I write for Nevada Cop Block. I do Food Not Bombs in Las Vegas, and we have a weekly live stream called ACAB Radio, and all our work is centered around police accountability, and we definitely experience a lot of censorship. I just got out of Facebook jail last night, so it's real, the struggle's real. First and foremost, I'm a fan of everybody in this room. Like, you guys have been an inspiration for me, so it's cool to, it's surreal to actually meet you guys in person. I'm really looking forward to networking and finding solutions. We talked a little last night, and I like what I hear. I think we're onto something. I know the power of what we do and how we can really affect change. We could do it in a more effective manner working together, because our enemy is coordinating and they're organized, and it's a multi-pronged offensive, and they've got big money, they've got I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but intelligence agencies and everybody it seems like they're working against us, so we need to be united as well. I know this is something that you guys who have been doing this for a long time have been talking about doing for a long time, so I'm glad to be a part of it finally happening. And yeah, it's great to meet everybody. Looking forward to hearing what everybody has to say.
Hello, my name is Aaron Nelson. I've been behind the scenes since 2013, doing a number of different things. First, No War with Syria, and then Common Ground Movement, and then I started a Pontiac Tribune news outlet that led me to anti-media. These days, I run social media for the Mind Unleashed, the anti-media, Human Press News, doing WordPress for the Mind Unleashed and anti-media. Of course, I'm sure all you know anti-media was deleted from Facebook. I'm here to hopefully figure out solutions to what I see as the two main hurdles for independent media right now. One, reaching people, because without social media it's nearly impossible to reach people these days. Two, funding the actual journalists and the whole team. Before, we would fund the media outlet with the reach, the traffic, which came from the ads, and the Facebook purge and censorship in general just eliminates both of those in one clean swoop. So I'm hoping we can figure out some solutions to that, and looking forward to hearing from all of you.
Hi, my name is Sterlin Lujan. I came into this space, into libertarianism and anarchism, back in 2009 when I was kidnapped by some jackbooted thugs for possession of cocaine and MDMA. I had about 500 pills of MDMA, 30 grams of cocaine. And it was that experience that woke me up to the nature of the state. And it reminded me that maybe I wasn't the bad guy in the situation, maybe I was the victim. So it was that propelled me to start getting this message of freedom out to as many people as possible. And I especially got into the psychological aspects of this, looking at the problems of psychiatry, looking at the psychedelic healing potential of psychedelics and of shamanic medicines. Then after I got into that, I shortly thereafter got into cryptocurrency. I found cryptocurrency through studying crypto-anarchism and through studying a lot of these individuals who were considered cypherpunks very early on. And as a result of that, I started publishing material on cryptocurrency and anarchism. I started working for Bitcoin.com. So since 2015, I've been a journalist, crypto journalist. And right now for Bitcoin.com, I am the opinion editor. So I gatekeep all the material that comes onto our page. Now, just like most of you in this room, I was a victim of censorship as well. I created a page called Psychologic Anarchist. I had about 60,000 followers on Facebook. And with the purge, I was removed like all of you guys. So my hope is that we can come to terms with this and try to find some type of solution so we can work together and so we can mitigate this process, because we know how evil the state is. We know that these bastards are going to do everything in their power to hurt us, to harm us, to coerce us. So I'm glad to be here and glad to work with all of you to try to find solutions to these problems.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you, Jason and Derick, for putting this together. My name's Ryan DeSoma, or StandUp911 on Instagram. I have about 8 to 10 years online and in-person activism. I hold the largest international conscious event. I have a CBD oil company. I'm a conscious entrepreneur, activism. I'm an investigative journalist. I do all sorts of work in the community. So yeah, I'm here to share some ideas, to collaborate, to work with you guys, to help gain some followers on the Instagram platform. That's mainly where I'm dedicated at and stuff, and just be here to support. And yeah, I'm really happy that we all came together. I'm really happy to see where this is going to develop and grow from here.
Now we got some online people.
Thanks, Ryan. So,
Mike Hines. Turn off our channel. There you go. All right, Mike, you're good.
Where's my snare? Okay, so my name is Michael Heinz. I'm a product of the Ron Paul revolution. About a year and a half ago, I started the Libertarian Party Mises Caucus with the original intent of trying to replace the chair of the Libertarian Party. And we very, very rapidly became one of, if not the largest caucus within the Libertarian Party. Got a lot of support from people like Tom Woods, the Mises Institute, all these popular podcasters within the party, or within the Libertarian community, joined the party. And it's really turned into a community, and the scope of the caucus has expanded. Sorry. The scope of the caucus has expanded from just intra-party activities to we're going to be filing paperwork to be a PAC. We just started rolling out content. We're growing our email list, and what we're planning to do is basically embark on a vision of a decentralized revolution where we use our content to push our ultimate principles, but we use our PAC to focus on local level elections to get some freedom ideals going at the local level, as well as to hook up with the 10th Amendment Center and create some single issue coalitions and help ballot initiatives around the country. And we've actually already had some success in hooking up with Decriminalize Denver, which is an organization that's pushing a decriminalization bill for psilocybin mushrooms in Denver, and that's going very well. It looks likely to pass, so I'm really happy to have been a part of that.
Yeah. Hey, Danny, turn up the mic so they can hear us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they got sound. I'm going to use mine.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Can I get a thumbs up?
Tell them yes, Danny.
Cool. Guys, my name is Gavin Esimento. I'm from South Africa. I'm actually in South Africa. I originally started this with the social media thing in about 2010. Back then I was living in the States. I started Choice and Truth. But back then I didn't know how to monetize social media. So I actually ended up selling the Choice and Truth page. It wasn't one of the pages that got deleted, but I ended up selling it because obviously if you can't put food on the table, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. Since that time, I created a page called A New Kind of Human, which was also deleted in the Facebook purge. And my YouTube channel was actually also deleted in the process. Essentially, what I'm concerned with, I think which everybody is concerned with, is freedom of speech. I believe the key to creating positive change is really in the facilitation of awareness, and awareness is rooted in freedom of speech. That's why we're even having this conference right now, because we're exchanging ideas, we're exchanging knowledge, because the more knowledge we have, the more solutions we can potentially come up with. We're going to limit our access to solutions to create positive change in the world. The other thing that I would like to gain from this conference is, I'm not sure who it was that said it, but to figure out a potential new avenue for monetization, and then also as a platform, because they very cleverly and strategically went ahead and killed those two things in a heavy way. And I don't know about you guys, but it's put me in a very difficult financial position. So I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on that. I would like to also mention that I'm deeply honored to be a part of this. I have the highest respect for all of you guys. I consider all of you to be warriors. I think that what's going on right now is it's a form of warfare. It's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. And it's our time to stand together, to unite, which is what they've done more proficiently than we have. But it's our time to stand together and then come up with as many potential solutions as we can. And then the last thing I just want to mention is, I know this can be very surreal. For myself also, when I started this, I didn't anticipate it to become this crazy thing that it's become now. But it is a very serious thing. And for those of you who remember the Occupy Wall Street movement and the COINTELPRO thing, they targeted those people through divide and conquer tactics. They went ahead and even called them domestic terrorists. So we need to be aware of that. They're going to probably try to create division between us. There's probably going to be a lot of psychological warfare going on. So if we could just discuss all of these different things, it would be greatly appreciated. Looking forward to it.
I am the founder of We Are Libertarians at wearelibertarians.com, and I started in talk radio in 2004 and then went to work at the Libertarian Party of Indiana after I decided I needed some political experience, and then left there to go work as the marketing director for the Advocates for Self-Government, which are the quiz people. And I now work for a nationally syndicated radio show as their digital director. And We Are Libertarians started 7 years ago in 2012 after I decided that I didn't think direct action politics may necessarily be the right way to change the culture to be more libertarian. And so the podcast has grown into far beyond what I thought, thousands of listeners and thousands of Facebook likes. And we really focus on trying to explain libertarianism in the way that regular people speak. I think a lot of shows try to talk to libertarians or professors, and so we're just regular folks talking about libertarianism. Our main focus this year is building community. I think that digital networks are great, but I think that if we really want to make an impact, we have to start building physical networks. So we have a program called Liberty and Chill that is just a social gathering. and it is, we're hoping to get into 10 cities this year. So I think if we can build physical networks with physical addresses, that can really help. I see this group, I appreciate being invited to be a part of it, as really one of the foundational meetings of making libertarianism and free speech principles mainstream. And if you look at the conservative movement, it really was coalesced in 1950s, in the 50s around Buckley and National Review. And it was when Buckley decided just to get all the boring camps to start to agree that we're going to treat each other's ideological differences with respect and have conversation around it. And once that actually took place, that's really what changed it for conservatism. And 30 years later, they elected a president, Ronald Reagan. So I think we have every bit of potential. Anybody under 40, you know that libertarianism is the predominant ideological push. We just have to articulate our picture better. And I'm sorry if I went out of order. So thanks for inviting me, and I appreciate the opportunity and look forward to listening to all the ideas.
Hey Jay, just remind them that we got to keep it at 2 minutes.
Hey everybody on the Zoom call, if we just could keep it
Hi there.
to 2 minutes.
I'm Lankowski. I'm in Chicago, Illinois, and I'm a publicist. I have somehow become someone who specializes in a lot of defamation and press freedom cases. And a lot of times the cases I work on are not, in fact, clean defamation cases, but will be monitored as other things. People will be, stricken by McCarthyite type stuff and other types of accusations designed to jacket them and silence them and force them and basically just to discredit them. So that's kind of my specialty. That's kind of come up with working with a lot of journalists who swing far left and far right. I do not work according to any sort of partisan agenda, so even if I disagree with someone profoundly from a political sense, I am interested in letting 1,000 flowers bloom, as they say, and so therefore I try to help anybody who has been legitimately wronged so that we can maintain a diverse media environment. So I do that, and then I do more traditional publicity for musicians and media figures and everything else, and so yeah, that's what I do. Hopefully today we're going to talk about how we can maintain some of that diversity, how we can challenge some of our own biases in terms of who we help, and come up with some really good functional infrastructure for maintaining that diversity and supporting each other through coalitions. That's it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alma Sommer. I'm currently on a sailboat in Texas, but going to be transitioning back into an RV and heading back to Arizona. I am the founding mother of the Jackalope Freedom Festival. I am also the creator of Agorist Marketplace and the Undocumented Human Project. Both of my children are undocumented, born in hospitals, but have no birth certificate or slave numbers. I'm currently working on a project called Some Next Level Shit with Neil Rademacher and a bunch of other liberty activists, as well as the homestead.guru. And lastly, really, I just want to invite everyone to Jackalope. It's July 30th through August 5th, and it's free to camp, bend, and attend. It's the only free freedom festival in existence, so come check it out. Thanks for having me.
We're gonna get Leo.
Hello! Long time listener, first time caller. Thanks for having me here. My name's Lee Camp. I host a political comedy show on RT America called Redacted Tonight. I also do a whole slew of other things, podcast called Comments Not Censored, and I've been suppressed and censored in similar ways. I haven't been banned from Facebook, but I have a situation that I haven't heard many other people talk about, but maybe, I don't know how common it is, but I have 335,000 followers on Facebook. However, I've had that number for the past 2 years. They just stopped allowing growth at 335,000. And it literally was, and it'll tell me I'm gaining followers, but it never goes beyond that. So it's basically a form of shadow banning. And of course, the other thing that I think a lot of other people have is they just won't show the post to people. So, a post last night I calculated was shown to something like 1.9% of my followers. So yeah, I think that what's important here is to, keep using the tools we have, such as, I don't know that abandoning Facebook is the answer yet, because it's something, it's basically like a second internet. It's so huge. But I think we've got to build up the other tools, and that can take years. But I think we got to get moving quick on building up other decentralized, uncensored platforms. And I hope this doesn't become a partisan discussion, because I don't think it should be. Thanks.
Bill?
You guys hear me? Yeah. I think so. Hey, this is Bill. Bill Ottman. I'm the co-founder of Minds.com, and I know that a lot of people here are already on Minds, so you should totally follow Lead Camp, Anti-Media, Free Thought Project. On Minds, we're trying to build an open source, uncensored, decentralized alternative. Anyone can actually take all of our code and build their own network, and we can federate together. And we've been around the Facebook world since the algorithms came for us. That started like 5 years ago, and then it obviously amped up in the last year. And so we're just trying to be as transparent as possible with, how we're running the operation, and all of our code is on gitlab.com/minds. It's highly collaborative. Developers out there. It's really, the way that we're going to beat the major juggernaut networks is with hackers and activists. I mean, that's the power of open source. That's why Linux is dominating the operating system world. That's why Mozilla, Firefox, and Brave are powerful. That's why Wikipedia is powerful. It's because they're all open source. So we can do the same thing with social networking. It's happening. There's us, there's other alternatives. We need to show support to each other, and it's growing. I mean, so it's happening, and it's just great to see everyone getting together. And feel free to reach out to me directly. I want to help you guys get exposure in your content. We have a whole cryptocurrency integration, monetization solution that we're working on, where you earn crypto for your contributions, and then you can use it to boost your posts for more views. Obviously, we'll never use algorithms or anything. And yeah, so hit me up, minds.com/Ottman, OTTMAN, and let's make this happen.
All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Hi, I'm Ted Metz. I started out in activism a long time ago after getting out of the Navy. And since that time, I have done so many different things with politics. I was with PANDA, People Against the NDAA, the Solutions Institute. I'm currently the chair of the Libertarian Party of Georgia. I just finished running for governor. I'm really worried about the censorship and the consolidation of media in general, because if we don't have truth, we can't have knowledge. With no knowledge, we can't have wisdom. So as one of the speakers earlier was saying, it's like we have to know the truth. And because they suppress the truth, we may never know. So we need to really work together to formulate some way to get the news that is the truth to everyone out there. I'm really worried about the corporatization and consolidation of corporate control throughout the entire economy, globally speaking. I've been working really hard to build community as well as build coalitions, both to hold government accountable at a local and state level. I've been working on ballot access, cash bail reform, and of course, decriminalization of marijuana. And for that, I would strongly urge you to support that. Ballot access, cash bail reform, and of course, the decriminalization and legalization totally of both industrial hemp and marijuana. So I'll stop there.
Okay, I guess I'll go. Hey everyone, I'm Emma. So I got started, I guess, in independent media back when I interned for Empire Files. And now I'm doing social media, and I'm an editorial assistant and do like videos and fundraising and stuff for Mint Press News. And I also am a journalist and editor with The Mind Unleashed. I worked a little bit with anti-media in the past, and I'm also, I was on the board of Women's March on the Pentagon, which is now just March on the Pentagon, and I'm the webmaster and on the executive board of directors for that. So I'm just interested to see what everybody has to say today, and want to know where we can all go from here. Thankfully, I still work with two outlets, The Mind Unleashed and Mint Press News, that have their Facebook pages and can still reach people, which is great. But I've been worried for a while before everybody lost their pages that we need to start reaching people in other places. And as much as we tell people to reach us in other places, they're not following us to other places. So we're on Minds. That's what I feel like is one of the most promising places to go next. But I want to see what everybody else has to say. So I'm just here to observe. Thanks.
Am I up? Okay. Did everyone hear me? Yeah. It's a pleasure to be here and be a part of this event, which will hopefully be the first of many efforts to unite and collaborate. For those who don't know me, my name is Louis Leo IV. I'm an American trial lawyer, father, journalist, activist, master meme builder, and occasionally I dress up as a corrupt judge called the Corporate King and troll to raise awareness about corruption and other not televised matters of public concern, such as mass chemical poisoning, which I'm sure is very near and dear to many of the people listening to this. My flagship news site is peopleoverpolitics.org. I also founded the March Against Corruption and Florida Civil Rights Coalition. Over the years, through independent media, or what might be more accurately called real journalism, we have raised immeasurable awareness about things that matter, and I want to thank everyone here who has been a part of that and a part of our collective mission to seek and share the truth and nothing but. We have tirelessly, and at least for me, for no compensation, have shared important information as well as helped citizens all over the world exercise and defend their rights, from organizing protests and mass civil disobedience to effectuating real reform and justice, which is ultimately what sets us apart from the pay-to-say prostitution that's perverting journalism and misguiding the masses. As some of you know, one of my clients is a former tenured journalism professor named James Treefi, who was fired by government officials at a major Florida public university in retaliation for his blog posting about false flag operations. His largely censored and mostly misreported case is now pending appeal in the 11th Circuit and may very well be headed to the U.S. Supreme Court. So for those unfamiliar with it, I encourage you to read my post about the case entitled Legalizing the Pretext, How American Public University Officials Conspired to Beat the First Amendment and Got Away with It. I would love to discuss the other projects and cases I'm working on, active investigations, but since we're short on time, let me conclude this introduction by offering some insight to this group and anyone who has been censored online, whether it be by the government or a private company. Open your minds, if they're not already open, to the fact that there are viable legal theories and avenues that can be used to protect your rights and legitimate business interests. Censorship is beyond just a free speech issue. It also involves unfair and deceptive trade practices, antitrust, and fraud. There are both state and federal laws that may be violated through censorship, including Section 1983 of the Civil Rights Act, as well as tampering with witnesses, victims, informants, and destruction of evidence under 18 U.S. Code Section 1512. So anyone who has been the victim of censorship needs to gather and preserve evidence, get organized, crowdfund if need be, and make it a priority to obtain experienced and qualified counsel to explore all possible and potential causes of action, remedies, and take legal action. And you can't delay, because statutes of limitations will run. silence is acquiescence. And while there may be many times to exercise the right to remain silent, censorship isn't one of them. That being said, I'd like to thank you all again for inviting me to this event and for your time, your continued support. If anyone has any questions or concerns or needs assistance of counsel, you can always email me privately at lewis@peopleoverpolitics.org or floridacivil.rights.org. I'll be here for as long as I can today to participate in the discussion, and I look forward to meeting everyone and hopefully working together to make a difference. Thank you.
Check. Yeah, make sure it's not muted. It's not muted.
Can everybody hear me? Signal must be weak here. So, my name is Christina. So then I'm the founder of the Free and Equal. Thank Jason Bassler and Derick Broze for putting this on. Really appreciate you guys and love being here and listening. Free and Equal Elections was founded in 2008, and our mission is to broaden electoral choices through education and direct positive action. And it doesn't come as a surprise with, the NDAA and the Patriot Act and the censorship that is wrongfully happening here, the Freedom Thought Project, Anti-Media, Nick Burnaby's, and many, many more. I feel that the need for an idea to rise, Ron Paul told me in a recent phone call, that when an idea comes, nothing will get in its way. And he has also message changes which would need to be involved. The youth and music. And so individuals like Ron Paul and Dennis Kucinich and even Jesse Ventura and many, many more, Ralph Nader, have helped inspire the creation of free and equal elections. I think that it is more important than ever for the synergy of elections and technology to come together, which will create something unrecognizable. So thanks again, guys, for putting this on. Many of you may be familiar with Free and Equal with our presidential debate. I'm primarily with the one that Larry King and I co-moderated in 2012. We are also launching our United We Stand tour. We're going to be in Ann Arbor, the February 14th to the 17th. Jason Bassler and Derick Broze will be on the main stage with a panel that I'll be moderating on censorship and freedom of speech and so on. And we'll also have another panel with Colin Cantrell and Jim Cantrell, Investor Space, going into the crypto blockchain voting. Finally, I do feel blockchain voting will revolutionize our voting system and bring about political transparency. So we'll be launching blockchain voting throughout our United We Stand tour. So great seeing you, and thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to listening and learning from many of you. So thanks for your time.
All right, guys, we have just one more in-person introduction really quick, and then we'll...
Any players on?
Oh, never mind. We got two more.
Just move on. Danny, if they're not there, let's just keep going.
She is here.
She's on the call.
All right, we'll go ahead and just do this in-person one really quick, and maybe if we get Catherine on.
Make sure she speaks up.
Test. Hi, everybody. This is Jennifer zoomed in, Jennifer Michelle on Facebook. I'm super happy to be a part of this emerging
unity-based think tank. Some of my relevant backgrounds, I became a voluntarist in 2020 for 3 years of environmental activism, including over a year at NASA, which I'm glad I left. I do graphics and video producing and editing, and an inventor. I've been an event, event organizer and promoter. I'm currently focused on developing programs and platforms, but a few of the groups I've created content for are the People's Voice, We Are Change, and Anarcho. I have a few inventions to share in this arena. One I'm really excited about. Sorry about that. I'm a little bit nervous. One I'm really excited about is a browser plugin, which will allow us to port our contacts over from Facebook and other platforms without any participation from the platforms. And I'm aiming to have this ready in about a month. And I'm also a growing resource on how to identify and resolve issues regarding individuals acting in division, fraud, and violence. I gained this knowledge from my experiences online, as well as an experimental volunteerist community in Mexico. The awareness of the harmful behaviors and developing conflict resolution methods outside of both governmental and non-governmental gangs, I think will be vital to our successes. I feel that logic and truth are on the side of freedom and unity as far as the transformation of humanity, and I'm really excited to see what awesomeness comes out of this.
So do we have a couple more on Zoom, and I think that'll be it? Yeah.
No, it should be it.
That's it?
No, we have one.
Two more people. So the idea of us saving a couple minutes here, I'm not sure what's going on with the Zoom call, but obviously
Louder.
we're not
Everybody has to speak louder.
coordinating right now with the Zoom call. So anyway, we're going to move on to the presentations, but before we do that, the donuts have arrived, so if anybody is hungry or needs a sugar fix, they are here. And we're just going to ask you guys, I know this is annoying, but if we can, for the Zoom callers, try to move back now.
I got the mic set up.
Okay, well, plans are changing.
The like as far as the Zoom call, if you want them to actually hear you, it's the mic right next to you guys. It's muted right now. Don't worry, nobody's listening.
Thanks for bearing with us, guys. It's obviously the first time we've done this.
So when you're talking, be aware if you want them to hear you online, that's the mic for them right there. They can't really hear both of the speakers. That's what I'm saying. So the closer we get there, that might help them be able to participate.
Awesome. So yeah, if you guys want to take a quick little break here, and we can get going on with the presentation.
Yeah, grab some donuts real quick. I'm going to try to just fill in some more details for everybody. Danny, please let them know online. They can still have a moment to check in if they want to. But if they want to speak presentation...
They can hear you.
Huh?
They can hear you.
That's okay. Well, guys, look, if you want to be a part of the presentation, you need to start typing. Use this chat. Put your name down. Like, we can't keep asking you over and over. So if you're on the Zoom, put your name down, and we'll put you in order, and we'll go through you. And the same thing for everybody in here. I know not everybody wants to necessarily present anything, but those who do, maybe, I don't know, somebody get out a sheet of paper or something like that, or your phone, and start making a list. Raise your hands on who plans on presenting. 10 to 15 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Myself, Jason, Howard. Okay, so we got about a dozen or so people that probably want to sign up. We can get a list of some kind, and then everybody on the call who wants to, Catherine wants to speak, but we can only hear Derek. We know everybody's quiet. See, this is what I'm saying over here, guys. When you're talking like this, nobody can hear you. We can't even hear you in the back. Danny, can you let's let Kat and Mike get quick intros real quick. Kat and Mike's listening from the UK. Mike's from truththeory.com, and Kat's from Homestead Guru. We're going to let them do quick intros. Everybody grab donuts or whatever you want, and then we'll do our presentations. We're going to go till about noon, and then take a lunch break from noon to 1:30, and then come back and just keep going. So if for those who want to give them a little bit of attention.
Hey, Derek.
Yeah. It is coming. Hey, Sterlin, can you mute my mic on the computer right there on the Zoom as soon as Danny switches us over? You good, Danny?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Say yeah. Yes.
Okay, so you can hear me well, right? Okay, so thanks for inviting me. My name is Mike Saigula. I'm the founder of TruthTheory.com. And 2018 was a tough year. I've been experiencing censorship with Treefi, especially on Facebook. I actually lost one page a year ago called Wake the Fuck Up. And I had all sorts of issues. We had to lay off half of the people that worked for us. I actually had one of the toughest periods ever. And but I'm still, moving forward. I was like really, in depth, had a lot of stress and all sorts of issues. And I'm just looking forward to brainstorm some ideas with you guys today. I have a couple of small ideas I want to share later on. And let's see if we can come up with some good solutions to help to combat the censorship. So thanks.
Okay, I'm next. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, okay, I'm Catherine. I own the homestead.guru, and we have a lot of partners whose pages got shut down, and I believe that my URL is being suppressed on Facebook. We've got about 17,000 followers on Facebook, and I can post content from any website other than mine, and it will get hundreds of shares, dozens of shares, but stuff from my URL specifically is not performing on mine or any of my partner pages that still exist. Most of my current partners are in the homesteading, gardening realm, but they have millions of likes, and I'm not getting any traction whatsoever. I had to lay off 6 people this year. I thought I was going to shut the whole business down. I haven't figured out how to monetize it. Right now I'm in an autopilot mode where we're bringing in enough of Google and Pinterest traffic to be able to pay for our software, but I can't pay anyone anything. I do have people contacting me every week, and they're paying me to put their articles on our website or add links to existing articles, and so that's kind of how I'm surviving right now. But it's interesting, all of my Facebook Facebook traffic is gone, even though I have access to millions of likes in the homesteading survival world. So I think because of my partnerships with the Mind Unleashed and the Anti-Media, and because we've been posting on those pages in the past, that my specific URL got suppressed, although our page didn't get shut down. So that's kind of what we're experiencing. For multiple years, we had, at least 6 people working for us, an editor, an admin girl who sent all of our emails and took care of everything, and then writers. And I can't get anyone for writing right now. It's hard and not what I'm used to, so I'm grateful to be able to participate, even though we've already come back from Mexico. So that's kind of where we are, and looking for any ideas on what to do. Currently, all of our income comes from Google and Amazon. I would like to shift that, but that's where we are right now. A couple other affiliates as well. Thank you.
All right, Danny, switch us over to this one. MC, pick up the mic. Check. Hello? All right, everybody. So I think that's everybody online that wants to present, or that wanted to introduce themselves. And we're going to go ahead and get started on the presentation. Did any of the anarchist, freedom-minded people in here actually make a list? Everybody just went about and did their own thing, right? All right, we do have a list. Cool. Well, I'll get started while that list makes its way here. And again, if anybody wants to sign up to speak online, please do. Well, that's really bright. Please do comment in the chat so you can get in order. So we're going to be going to about noon, then we'll take a break and we'll come back and continue and see how we want to go about this. So my focus of my presentation is very brief, but it's kind of coming from all the conversations I've had with everybody in this room, because to one degree or another, I'm connected to most of the people who've come to this event. This was co-organized by Jason and me, and obviously for all the reasons that have already been stated. My main thing I want to present to you guys is a couple of solutions, opportunities for solutions. I think we lost half the people, though. Hopefully everybody come back. But either way, this will be for the record. For those of you who are organizing in the community, I think that there's a website that I'd like for you to check out. It's called freedomcells.org, freedomcells.org. And if anybody's actually the type of person that goes into the street, whether you're feeding the homeless, whether you're organizing a protest, or whatever, really, it doesn't matter. Freedom Cells is essentially an organizational structure of small groups of 7 to 9 people coming together for the purpose of organizing, building a garden, of spreading cryptocurrency, of what have you. It's any number of possibilities when it comes to that. But the main reason that I want to promote the website is because it is an alternative social network that can be used if people choose to use it in that way. You can make posts, you can post articles, you can post videos and all that kind of stuff. But the great thing about the website, the main focus, is that when you go on there and you create an account, you can create, these are my skills, these are the things I'm interested in, right? You can also search by skills and interests. And when you search, it'll show you a map and it'll show you the people who are near you within 5 miles, 10 miles, or 50 miles of you. And you can see their interests and their skills. And so the whole thing, the whole purpose of it is supposed to be an easy way to connect people, right? So it's not just supposed to be another social network that we sign up for and then, it just becomes part of where you post and dump things. It can be that, it does have some other cool features that help out independent media, but the main goal is to foster real-world connection.
They don't hear you.
It's coming through that mic. Is that unmuted over there? The Zoom call, make sure it's unmuted. Down the bottom left corner. Yeah, unmute it. Bottom left, bottom left. All right. Okay, so unmuted. Cool. I see it. Yeah, this right here. Ryan. You got it? No, this one.
That's this computer.
You sure? Okay, cool. All right. But it also says on my name. Oh, that's all right. Well, we got 2 things going on. All right. So freedomcells.org. Check out that website. And basically, what I was saying, for those who couldn't hear on the call, this is a way for you to get plugged into your local community. So no matter what type of organizer you are, activist you are, if you use the Freedom Cells website, you go on there, you create yourself a profile, and you put my interests are cryptocurrency, my interests are community garden, my interests are protesting the Federal Reserve, my interests are whatever you have, right? And you create that little profile. Other people can find you through there. You can create what we call cells or circles, which are essentially just like a group. Like imagine it being on Facebook. But again, the main goal of freedomcells.org is to foster real-world interaction. So to build these groups and hopefully start cultivating on the ground organizing. So that's why I say it can be valuable for a journalist, it can be valuable for an activist. When you check out freedomcells.org on the website when you join, there's actually a news feed that we have there. And pretty much all of our websites are already plugged in. Everybody here is represented, and we can easily add more. So, for example, when you go to this news feed on freedomcells.org, there's a MonCrief logo, there's the Free Thought Project, there's Anti-Media, there's all of our websites, right? And the user just clicks whichever website, and then it automatically shows you the latest news from there. Or they can click both We Are Change and Free Thought, and it'll show you both the art. You know what I mean? So it's very easily already built into the platform where there's a news feed that's focused on alternative media. That website's already up and existing. It's been around for 2 years. I promote it as I can, but it's a tool that's there to be used as you choose, organizing, etc. The other focus, I wish Nick was in here because this is slightly directed at Nick. But one of the other things I want to mention is that I don't think that there's been enough interaction between audiences and cultivating that connection between the community, right? So let me give you an example. This has been a conversation that we've had. Anti-media, Free Thought Project pages that have 4 million, 3 million followers, right? But for the most part, nobody really knows who Matt is or who Jason is, and that's fine. Not all of us want to be the people in front of the camera or be the face, right? And Free Thought is bigger than Matt, Jason. Anti-media is bigger than Nick, right? We understand that. But at the same time, to the audience, I feel like it's this kind of like vague, nameless, faceless entity, the Anti-Media, the Free Thought Project. They have no personal investment in it, right? So they've seen our memes, they've seen our articles, they've seen all that stuff, but they don't know, like, oh, wow, Nick's out there fighting hard for the Anti-Media. Jason and Matt are really trying to keep this alive. It's just this kind of amorphous thing. And I had mentioned this to Nick before we got shut down and to Jason as well, that I personally felt like there needed to be more of an effort to, like, say, go live through the Anti-Media where you got 3 million followers, 2 million followers, or through the Mind Unleashed, which is one of our last big channels that many of us have access to. And basically say, hey guys, I'm Nick, or I'm Jason, or I'm whoever with this, or I'm Luis with Emancipated Human, whatever your outlet is. And I'm not saying make yourself the focus, but cultivating that relationship with your audience goes a long way. And that's been my experience through doing activism. When I can speak directly, like through a YouTube video or something, and speak to my followers, my supporters, and tell them, this is what I'm dealing with, guys. I'm suffering, I'm struggling because of censorship. This is what I need. I need you to help me this way. They understand. They can play a role in it. It becomes a symbiotic thing. But if we're just a page that has no personality behind it and just posting memes, just posting articles, there's no connection there. So that's why this is my theory, at least that's why there's not a lot of clamor to help us, because they don't know all the work that Nick's put in behind the scenes. They don't know all the work that the writers have put in, or the editors, because they have no connection to it. So my goal is just to say that for those of us who do have followings, or whatever we want to refer to it as, cultivate that to correctly connect with them. Let them communicate with them what's going on, because things could look a lot different if a year ago, when we still had Free Thought and Anti-Media up, if we started doing this and telling them, we tried different things, but yeah, so I just think that we don't want to let that opportunity pass. So Freedom Cells, connecting more with your audience. And this, I'm sure I'm not going to be the only one to mention this, but I think that whether or not we choose to abandon Facebook completely or do a mind shift, Bill's over there on the call right now saying that scheduling is about to come on Minds, and that's what some of us have been waiting for, because as content creators, you know that if you can't schedule, it's a big pain in the ass to constantly come back to the website. So we need scheduling on alternative platforms. We need these things, right? But in the meantime, I don't think that we're going to survive fighting for the scraps individually, right? Because there's no big piece of the, we realize that there's a market out there. If we can create pages that have millions and millions of followers, and even the smaller pages, you can reach hundreds of thousands. All of us a couple years ago, we were kicking ass. We know that that's mostly gone now. But we've proven that there's a market for this kind of this information. People want this. Just because the Facebook pages have been deleted doesn't mean that those people are gone. They're still out there. They're making it difficult for them to find us, and NewsGuard is going to be a big part of that, telling them what's trustworthy and what's not. But I think ultimately we have to come together in some way. And I don't know what that looks like exactly. This has been tried in the past before, and I'll just be straight up. Some of you know this in the room. People's egos have gotten in the way in the past, where it was like, I'm doing good on my own. I don't need to team up with other people. Why should I, we got our own thing. Why do we need to collaborate? But at the point we're at now, if we don't come together and start collaborating, then I think we're all going to sink, eventually. And I don't know what that looks like. There's been talks of trying to create a new independent alternative news wire. So we have Reuters, we have AP, but the alternative media, whatever name we end up giving it, right? Different organizations. And it's essentially like a news feed reader that would take all of the information from MonCrief, from Anti-Media, onto one news wire that then other independent people could read. Other alternative outlets could take those stories and circulate and use for their, podcasts, their videos, etc. There's got to be some kind of coalition built. I don't know what it looks like exactly, and I hope that today is the beginning of that conversation, because I honestly do think we're at the beginning of 2019. you know, going into the election, they don't want us to influence it, just like we saw with the last election, right? So either we fight for whatever little piece of the audience we can get, or we come together and see what we can build. I think that's pretty much, you know, the only thing that, in my view, that's going to save us. And that's pretty much all I got to say. I'll pass it to Jason.
Thank you, Derick. So Peter is going to go ahead and give the next presentation. He flew out from San Francisco to be here today with us. It's actually his birthday, which is super awesome.
Birthday today.
Whoa, how about that? Right on.
Capricorn all the way, right? Capricorn. Okay.
So if you want to come on up, Peter.
Sure. Is there any way you can just like PowerPoint up for?
Yeah, let's see. I'll bring it up to Danny.
Okay.
I'll try to do this without the PowerPoint, but thank you, Jason and everybody for organizing this. I'm an attorney, so I'm going to try to be brief, and that's an oxymoron, I understand it, but I really am going to be try to be really brief. I'm a partner of Brown George Ross. I'm lead counsel for Prager University in 2 lawsuits, one that's pending in the Ninth Circuit right now on the issue of whether or not YouTube is a public forum and therefore performs a government function to satisfy what we call the state action requirement so that they can be sued under the First Amendment. I also represent a number of individuals who've been banned from Facebook, and I will tell you all here that we are contemplating a class action lawsuit against Facebook shortly, more on the consumer side. So if any of you have paid for something that's called page-like ads, I don't know if you're familiar with that, or ads to build your reach. Potentially you would be in this class. The concept here is very simple, that Facebook has been selling ads and taking money from you to build your reach on the front end and then uses the algorithm on the back end to cut the reach. It's a pretty slam dunk, straight, what we call UCL or unfair competition claim, or as the other gentleman mentioned, deceptive trade practices claim. The remedies there are restitution, which you would get all your money back, and it also requires disgorgement of profits. Our estimates are that they've taken somewhere between $1 and $5 billion. We're going to be putting that together. So if any of you have paid for page-like ads and are interested, please let me know. The PowerPoint goes up. Hopefully it will. My email is on there. I just want to talk very quickly about a couple of things about filing lawsuits. First of all, I am a former community organizer. 35 years ago as a VISTA volunteer, and I was 10 years as a community organizer. I then went to a law school and lost all of the really great things that I learned at being a community organizer. So I'm not somebody who's really big on pushing legal solutions and having lawyers do things, and I know as activists there tends to be often, as I was, a little pushback against that. I happen to think, however, that this is particularly unique for a legal solution. It's not the only solution, but I can guarantee you that if the Ninth Circuit finds next spring that YouTube is a public forum, then there will be First Amendment protection on YouTube, and they will need to change all of their guidelines in the way that they regulate their speech. Second point I want to make about that, while I agree that there are these consumer claims, and we talked about them with Facebook, but on the First Amendment claim, that's really important to understand what the First Amendment does and doesn't do, because I hear from people all the time telling me, oh, well, the First Amendment is everything goes, and it makes it a Wild West. That is absolutely untrue. The rules in First Amendment, under the First Amendment are very simple. You have to do 3 things. First of all, if you're going to regulate speech, you need to regulate in direct relationship to a compelling state interest, national security, public safety, things like that. Second of all, when you do regulate that way, your regulations have to be as narrow as possible to effectuate that state interest. And third, and most important, is that you cannot have terms, which is what all of these companies do. They use terms like, we reserve the right to take down anything that we think is, quote, inoffensive or, quote, inappropriate. That's what courts have called vague and ambiguous viewpoint-based pretexts, and they are absolutely illegal under the First Amendment. Not because something can't be offensive, but because you've got no objective criteria. and you're allowing effectively the licensor or the censorer to make the decision about what he or she believes is in fact offensive, rather than having objective criteria saying no pornography, things of that nature. The other aspect of this is that some people have said, well, hate speech is protected by the First Amendment. That's not true. Hate speech is not necessarily protected by the First Amendment. But what you can't do is censor some people's hate speech and let other people's hate speech go. And if you look at the complaint that we have filed, and it's online in the PragerU cases, we have charts showing which videos have been censored by my client's videos, which have been censored or put into restricted mode, and which videos haven't. So my client, PragerU, does cartoons about public subjects like the Holocaust. Oh, well, we're restricting that because that's something that deals with violence. What's running unrestricted? How to punch a Nazi, in which they show people punching a guy in the face because he's a Nazi and saying it's cool to do that and go ahead and do that. They also show things such as, my personal favorite is, and I'm going to finish up with this because this is really the theory that's going on here, most violent hits in the NFL is unrestricted. You go on YouTube, you click on that, and the next thing you know, YouTube wants to take you to YouTube TV. What is this getting at? We can talk about the partisan fights that may be behind censorship, and some people believe it, but I believe this is an economic issue and an anti-competitive issue. We know what's happening on social media. It's very simple. All of the media companies are changing from being hosting platforms to producing their own content. Why? Because they lied to all of you by telling you, we're a place for freedom of expression. You give us your speech, we'll get it out there. And they built the audience that way. They've now saturated the platforms. The platforms are completely built, and now they don't want you guys to get the little revenue that you get when you go off of their platforms to their sites. So what are they doing? They're using their censorship criteria to clean you all out so they can run their own content. YouTube TV, the content deals they have with mainstream media, and most importantly, the Facebook Watch channel now. They have built an audience who would have no reason to watch TV on YouTube but for you folks. They built it on your back, and now they're trying to clean you guys out, right, and run their own content that they can make all the money on, okay? That would be okay, but for the promises they made to you, both about these being public forums for freedom of expression, and if you doubt it, please go check YouTube's mission statement. Please go check the testimony that YouTube gave to the United States Senate when YouTube said we are a public forum for freedom of expression, and now they're coming into the court and saying they're a publisher. They can't have it both ways. If we are able to get the camel under the nose of the tent on the state action theory that they are regulating speech in private property that is designated as a public forum, we will have a viable First Amendment claim that will fundamentally change the internet. Second of all, on the Facebook claims, we estimate that this claims could be worth $15 to $30 billion and a lot of money back in your pockets if you guys had paid for any ads about reach. And the last thing I want to say is, the second we get over the motion to dismiss in the Facebook case, you know what the first request for discovery is going to be. Give me the algorithm. We are going to get that algorithm. We are going to have the people look at the code in that algorithm, and we're going to find out what they're really up to. So if anybody's interested in working with us or helping with us on this, we'd love to work with you. We're not charging anybody for our fees. We're happy to consult with you. We're doing this on a contingency pro bono / basis. But most importantly, we're good and we're going to win. Okay? And that's what it's all about. It's about getting results. We are looking right now for both named and class plaintiffs in this Facebook case. So anybody interested, please give us a call, like I said. And the last thing I want to say is, when you do look to hire a lawyer on this, please keep in mind the venue and choice of law provisions that are in the TOS. They're all in California. All the major four companies say you must sue us in California and you must use California law. That is a tremendous advantage to us because California has a liberty of speech provision that is different than the First Amendment provision, that is broader than the federal First Amendment, and has a state action requirement that has already found that shopping centers that invite people to come and shop have to give freedom of expression to those people. So we're planning to do the same thing in a state law case that we filed, and I really encourage you to check out our pleadings that are online, both the state law complaints. There may be ideas and things that you want to borrow. Maybe you want to take them to another lawyer, be my guest. All I'm asking is that we try to coordinate on the legal strategies, because this is very similar to Brown versus the Board of Education, which is you can't win this case by going up for the slam dunk right away. You have to go piece by piece by piece. And everybody knows the genius of Thurgood Marshall in Brown versus the Board. Yeah, he won Brown versus the Board versus 9-0. But the way he won it was saying, okay, you want separate but equal? We're all in on separate but equal. But you're going to build me a law school as big as the one you have in Texas for white people, for African people. And that's separate but equal. And when the states began to realize, oh my God, we're going to have to do all this, Brown versus the Board was an obvious conclusion. So that's my point. We have to be very strategic and very, very careful about which cases we pick first so we don't make bad law, even though we know we're in the right. So thank you very much. Sure. Sean said, what I'll say is you've got my email address. If anybody's interested in talking to us about working with us on a lawsuit, just email me and we'll consult with you and we'll tell you what's involved. They said there's no charge to any of you for this. We're trying to build a class action to take them out. Okay, thank you very much.
What's your email?
I thought it was on the PowerPoint, but we didn't get it up. P. Obstler, O, B as in boy, S as in Sam, T, L, E, R, at bgrfirm.com.
You want to make sure that's right behind you?
No, firm, F-I-R-M. F-I-R-M.com. You got it. Thank you so much. And Jason, you're the best. Thank you, man, for putting this together.
Thank you, Peter. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, man.
Yeah. 61.
All right, we got Big Lou up next. Thank you, Luis.
Thank you. I just want to talk about a couple of things really quick. I'm probably not going to take the whole 10 minutes, but just to let you know, J.P. Sears speaks at the Capitalism Conference, and he's a huge libertarian. He never uses those terms ever. He's extremely popular by the right and the left. And he throws all his content, and people laugh at it, and they love it, and they want more of it, and they don't even know. So that's one of the things that I have been focusing on, not using the lingo, especially because people get kind of put off by it, like, I don't understand, or like, oh, libertarians are assholes, or whatever. So just throwing, there was one book that really changed my perspective, and it's A Market for Liberty by the Tanthills. They never talk about anarchy, libertarianism, or anything like that. They're just talking about examples. So if we are able to focus on not just barking at the state, or these guys are assholes and idiots, but we actually give solutions, this is a problem, what about this? So just the focus of that is pretty important. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about, back in the 90s, Bill Clinton used to play the saxophone at MTV, right? Maybe some of you know that, maybe not. So about a decade later or so, people that saw him on MTV voted for him because they thought he was cool, right? So where am I going with this? I started getting on, so I'm willing to bet that most of us here are between 25 and 45, right? That's actually the only ages that gravitate towards Facebook. Anything above that or below that, they're not on Facebook. My daughter's 13, she's not on Facebook. They're on Snapchat, they're on Instagram. And I was like, if we really want to create some sustainable change, we need to hit those platforms too. And as Derick Broze was saying, we need our faces out there. And, sometimes we don't want to toot our own horn, but they need to see us. So if we are able to hit, I started my Snapchat too, and, throwing memes too, and just talking about libertarianism stuff, but without the actual lingo. And it's funny, my daughter was talking to one of her friends, and my daughter said, so why are you always liking my dad's posts? And she said, I don't know, he talks about capitalism all the time. I don't even know what it is, but it sounds cool. So, that just gave me a huge idea. I'm like, all of these little kids, they don't know shit. And they're being indoctrinated by the government camps at school. But if we are able to bring in, the idea of freedom, when they're little, they hear it when they're little, they're able to really understand, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, we don't need coercion, we don't need any of these things. I don't like getting spanked or whatever, what have you. And I've gotten invited to speak at schools too and present about, these ideas. And they absorb it, like, those expandable sponges, when you just add a little water, they're like, whoosh. These kids are just like taking it in, asking the best questions, better questions than any adults. And I like teach, C-level executives. So it's really exciting. Like, that's a fantastic opportunity that we have, and play the Bill Clinton kind of thing on MTV, but us on Snapchat or whatever. So I think, just throwing it out for what it's worth. And I was going to mention the idea of something like what Derick said, like uniting the front and having a big whatever, where we collaborate and whatever. So I'm reading this book called New Power. And the guy talks about the difference between old power and new power. Old power is like a currency. You amass it, and you kind of like just give it out a little bit, but you still have the power. The new version of power is collaborative. Think about, like the Me Too movement, right? Somebody created it, but it just spread out like wildfire. It didn't have one owner. So it's like a current. The more people that are involved in it, the stronger it becomes. So if we are able to really collaborate and not just keep it for ourselves, like throw it out there, decentralized stuff. It's kind of funny because the communists are always talking about the means of production, but like capitalism gave them to us. Like we're able to be our own producers, our own video makers. Like, I mean, shit, like if you look at your phone, like this is your workspace right here, right? So we have all of that available. We just need to be able to look at it from a different perspective. So it is said that creativity is looking at the same thing through different eyes. So how can we, like, I mean, all that shit's there. If we leave Facebook, like everybody's there from our age groups. If we just go to some place where, like, I mean, it's just gonna be a circle jerk. It's not gonna be any fun, right? So if we're able to actually, like, present ourselves in a way that actually promotes libertarianism, like, I was telling somebody last night, the worst enemy of a libertarian is another libertarian. Or else like fucking fighting about stupid shit that will never materialize in 100 years. Like, we just need to get together and like really uplift each other and like make examples out of that. Because, also like Doug Casey, one of my mentors, he says, libertarians are poor as church mice. So we need to like create more cap in the ANCAP community. So we can, whatever, like if we can create a product or like merch or whatever, that is not just contingent on Google like giving us a monthly paycheck, something that we can sell that provides value for people. So we're not just, vegetarians or whatever. So, anyway, bunch of things at once. Just wanted to throw that out there. Supremely thankful for these two kids to create this forum for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, so if you guys haven't signed up and you do want to speak, just come up and let me know. I'll throw you on the list. Looks like some of these are going to go after lunch because we're running a little late. Oh, wow, check that out. Okay, so, and then also, if anybody just wants to sneak out really quick, I think Rachel is doing some interviews with RT outside. So if you feel like you want to be on RT, then head out there.
Can you minimize the screen over the slide deck? So hi, my name is Etienne de la Boetti, and I think I mentioned earlier that is a nom de guerre that I use to kind of protect my kids who are still in a government school system. A quick background about me: I'm a technology executive, past operating executive, board director. I teach Fortune 500 companies how to learn quicker, how to learn at the speed of light, and I in my past, I've worked on Wall Street. I ran a national third-party LP political campaign. Worked at one of the big four think tanks, and have studied the problem for a great many years. And I have a nonprofit called the Art of Liberty Foundation, which is dedicated to exposing the problem, not really as a political problem, but as a problem of what I like to call intergenerational organized crime that is controlling the government and the media and using statism and using government as a technique to rob and enslave the people versus using it to protect the people. And so they're kind of giving everybody an artificial religion using mandatory government schools. There's an indoctrinated holy symbol. There is a youth. They all have a youth program. The youth program turns into a militarized youth program. They give everybody the uniform. They shave the head. They give them a worldview that makes doing bad things acceptable. And so I look at it as and I like to use the terms intergenerational organized crime versus specifically deep state or globalists or elitists, which I believe are purposefully unhelpful, undescriptive terms that are designed to obscure what's really going on here, which is a group of people using these techniques to rob and control society. And so, what I did is many of you may have seen me at different events with my 60-foot sign, government and media run by organized crime. But I did put a lot of thought into how do you break down the basics of the situation for somebody. And that was the shortest amount of letters that I thought would kind of like sum it up. And so what I mentioned is so at the top of the food chain is the banks, and I'll get into a slide of how they're getting the money out. But the number one technique is fractional reserve banking. They're giving banks the ability to create money out of thin air, which they win at interest. It creates exorbitant profits. With these exorbitant profits, they've been able to buy up and consolidate the media into a cartel that is hiding the reality of the situation of the average person and giving really a legitimacy to the government. And so the way that I try and do it in my books, is I try and use a lot of visualizations. So this is a media ownership chart that really, it's one thing if I tell you there's a handful of companies running hundreds of subsidiaries, but if you actually see a media ownership chart, you're like, wow, that's 6 companies running hundreds of subsidiaries to give everybody the illusion of choice, the illusion of diversity of opinion, but in reality, they are controlling the information that the masses receive to make the system seem like it's legitimate, that the elections are legitimate, that it's legitimate for one group of people to get to make up rules for everybody, steal their wealth, take their money. And that propaganda matrix on the mainstream media side is we're well with. But it also, I have other visualizations that show it's not just the ownership of the means of production, it's also how do we give the media the marching orders. And so you can see through kind of visualization, there's a handful of organizations, the Council on Foreign Relations, Bilderberg, Trilateral Commission, whose membership is in all of the key centers of editorial, publishing, and key reporters that are also operating as a cartel, as an organized crime entity to put up this propaganda matrix of this is legitimate, government's legitimate. So they're putting it on every screen, they're putting it on every tablet that they can get to. And we were starting to challenge that. And so we were beginning to cut through that propaganda matrix. We developed millions and millions and millions of followers, different people getting out different aspects of the truth. And then once we started to win, that's when they kneecapped us. They kicked us off of Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the different platforms because that message was finally starting to get out. I live in Northern Virginia, around kind of the alphabet agencies. Like I said, I'm a tech guy, so I'm there for tech reasons. But the word around DC, and I've got some articles. One, how the CIA made Google, is that Google was the original search algorithms for the Echelon program. They were doing search before anybody else. They realized the value of search. And they had the internet back in the 70s. I mean, very, very early. And so what my thesis is that they baked control of perception into the internet from the beginning. And so they overcapitalized and overfunded these companies because they knew that social media was going to be big. They knew that search was going to be important. They understand that the number one weapon is control of perception. So we'll overfund these companies. We'll allow them to buy up their competitors. We'll stack money on the table until the company sells, and then we'll absorb. So I showed you, a couple of visualizations that were specific to the media. This is a visualization that I also have in the book, and I have in our flash drive of Freedom, the Liberator, that shows that control of those three organizations doesn't just extend to the media, but it's also the cabinet, it's the intelligence agencies, it's the Department of Defense, it's vice presidents, it's the Federal Reserve System, it's the World Bank, it's the Import-Export Bank, you name it. In all the key positions of power, these are the organizations that they're using to give people their marching orders. We talked about where does the money go? How are they getting these profits? Number one is fractional reserve banking system, so they get to create money at thin air. They loan it at interest, and even though this process is inflationary, so they're stealing the money out of the value of everybody else's money, and they're doing it in a way on Wall Street that obfuscates how that process is happening. But the more money that the banks are allowed to print, that steals the purchasing power out of the dollars that people earn and save. So they're robbing us. They're taking the profits, and then they're pumping them into consolidating the media and the other social media and internet properties. There's military procurement and unnecessary warfare, where like every time a cruise missile rocks some empty valley in Afghanistan, somebody just made $250K, $250K, $250K. They're charging outrageous, the fuel for the helicopters and the military vehicles, et cetera. It's just it's an amazing amount of absolutely unnecessary spending that's going right into the pockets of a criminal cartel. Homeland Security and police state privileges, and really just government monopoly privileges, giving companies government monopolies, giving companies like Solyndra or whatever, loans, loan guarantees. There's just a variety of ways that they're stealing money, but if you're stealing trillions of dollars, what do you call the couple $100 billion a year you spend to control the media? It's the marketing budget. It's literally, it's just their advertising budget to make it seem like it's all legitimate and all real. And so I've written a book called Understanding Our Slavery, where I'm trying to break it down. And what I did in the book, Understanding Our Slavery, which you can get for free at understandingourslavery.com, is I've put all of these visualizations in because of what I do in my day job. I understand the way that people learn. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to, number one, expand the number of people that will engage with this information with a book, with any book. And so it's probably around 10% for textbook. And so by making it infographic, meme, and photograph rich, I'm expanding the number of people that will engage in it. And by using the visualizations and using the media ownership charts and using the historical photos, people come to a faster and a deeper understanding. And so I went on a book tour last year. I did 6 different cities, and one of the things that I realized is that they understood how the government was robbing them, but they were scared of the alternative voluntarism. So I kind of pulled back on promoting the book, and I'm in the process of writing a book that will be printed upside down and backwards called Voluntarism, that explains how the free market delivers the goods, how it provides protection, how it provides everything that the government does. And so that's one aspect of what I'm doing. I mentioned that we have a flash drive called the Liberator. The flash drive on the Liberator has 8 gig of information. And so the goal is to have a book that you can give to somebody, very low cost, and a flash drive that has all of the evidence of government criminality, as well as this is the alternative of voluntarism, freedom, free markets, and have it all in one kind of curriculum that anybody can copy. This is a wafer flash drive. It goes in the wallet. You hand it to somebody. They can download it to the computer. They can make a copy themselves. And so we've got to get outside of just the internet to be able to go hand to hand. I think I'm working on developing a think tank to study and expose the system as organizational crime. And the last project I'm excited about is what I call the pre-state project. And so my thesis is we can win everywhere, but first we have to win somewhere. And right now, the Free State Project has got 25,000 people to commit to move to New Hampshire. They've got 5,000 people on the ground. They've had a tremendous amount of success with 5,000 people. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to move someone physically to New Hampshire. And so with low-cost books, DVDs, and flash drives, I think we can go into one state and we can distribute material that exposes it as organized crime, wakes people up to the alternatives. And I think the #1 state where we could win is in New Hampshire, and so that's one of the things that I think that if we can win one place, we win everywhere. But that's what I'm up to. I'm excited to be here with everybody and learn what you guys are up to, and we're going to win this thing. There's no way you can stop the signal. There's no way you can stop the truth from getting out. We're in an information revolution. We're going to win this. We're going to expose these criminals, and I look forward to celebrating that victory with each and every one of you who have been part of making it happen. So thank you.
Happy birthday to you as well. So one thing I just wanted to say really quick, it's just a reminder, like feel free to network with each other. We're all like good people, we're all power players here, so like we should be following each other and networking with each other. So we have four of you ready to go? Maybe?
Speakers, please speak up, picture.
Hey Ford, did you want to go? Awesome. And we're just trying to keep it to 10 minutes, guys, just so we do have a chance to like discuss all this stuff afterwards in the roundtable meeting.
We're gonna have it live streaming on my page as well. All right, so I kind of want mine to be a little bit more discussional because I've got a few sort of specific proposals and I want to hear what people have to say about them. So basically, obviously, we've all kind of encountered censorship. I think Facebook is kind of a primary spot that's happened. And I think one of the biggest issues is the fact that Facebook and the mainstream media kind of own the narrative of why that happened. So myself, my page wasn't actually removed, as I talked about earlier in the day. On the day of the Facebook purge, many of my videos were marked for removal, and then Facebook actually sent me a note of apology, putting them back up, which is really bizarre. And I think my understanding of that is that I was on the chopping block, that basically Facebook was on the fence about deleting my work, and it seems like they ultimately mostly didn't. But we have sort of the slow issues of marking individual videos or content as spam, of the slow sort of demonetization, basically things to push people off of the platform or to make it impossible to monetize our content, of course, all leading up to the possibility of hard deletion. One of the first issues that I've kind of identified is that when somebody is taken down, that's exactly when their voice needs to be the loudest, right? So if Anti-Media or Free Thought Project is taken down, their audience needs to know that that happened, but they're mostly, not able to report on it as far as Facebook is concerned because the Facebook is gone. On the other hand, Facebook is out talking to the Wall Street Journal and the mainstream media and saying, well, we just took down this bot, this spam page, this Russian page, whatever. And Wall Street Journal basically shares that press release in an article format, and they are more or less just posing it unchallenged, just this is the way it is. They don't reach out to the actual content creators who are censored and ask for comments. To that end, I think we all have remaining platforms when one of those things happened. If we have 50 different people with different sorts of indie media platforms and one of us is deleted, I think we all need to actually stand up for that person who was just deleted or censored because they don't have that voice in that exact moment, and we need to work to get that voice back. So my idea is that we need to be able to own that counter narrative. This is sort of information warfare. We have to realize that the state is inherently sort of behind the fact of the censorship in the first place. It's Facebook out of fear of regulation or at the direct sort of order of the state that they're doing the censorship in the first place. So when one of our sort of comrades in the independent media is censored, I think we need to actually get their take on it. We need to create a counter narrative so that that Wall Street Journal article that says, oh, these spam pages, these indie news pages, fake news pages were taken down, we need to actually do reporting on that person. And so the first of my kind of few ideas is that I'd like to sort of unionize in the sense that we're all prepared for when we are censored, that we do stories on that censorship and share that. To that end, I think that a lot of the criticism of the independent media tends to come from the idea that it looks unprofessional, that it looks bloggy, that it doesn't look like it's kind of organized in a way that is up to par with mainstream media. And I think one thing that could help sort of unite it would be through something like the Associated Press, but with respect to independent media specifically. So something like a National Association for Independent Journalists, right? It doesn't have to be a formalized corporation or a nonprofit, but it might make sense to have some kind of a body that stands up for independent media and is the result of all of us together with some kind of a board, and that basically people can promote and talk about when one of our people is censored or whatever the exact issue is, standing up for the independent media in general. My other idea is that I think that we could probably benefit from having some kind of an independent news wire service, right? And people would have the ability to see the independent reporting kind of all in one place. I think that a lot of people who are familiar with the work of maybe a third of us do, they'd be interested to see what the other 2/3 of us are doing. I know that we have the creator of Minds.com on Zoom here with us. Google has, their Google search engine, their YouTube, which has the videos. They have Google Plus, which is theoretically social media. It seems like Minds is kind of coming about as the independent alternative to Facebook. I would suggest that either through Minds or through something else, but it would be cool to have this occur through Minds, would be an equivalent to Google, the service that Google has called Google News. So in addition to just searching for a situation just on Google search, it actually has a specific news tab where it designates what it considers to be a valid news page. For myself, it let me apply to be eligible on Google News, that news to share content would be counted on that. You're able to apply every 90 days. I did that for 3 years before finally now news to share content appears in Google News. But it shouldn't take that long and it shouldn't be that difficult. I think it would be cool if we had a service like Google News that compiles the independent media, where when something happens, people are able to search and see what is the independent media saying about this. I think in particular to foreign policy, the mainstream media tends to have a clearly pro-war slant, whereas the indie media does not. And I think there are other situations and other sorts of policies and issues that would be true of as well. So to that end, I would love to see something like maybe a wire service or a Google News equivalent on Minds, or maybe it's something that we compile in our own website form. So I'd be interested to see what people's responses are to that. I think one of the problems is that we're all fiercely individualistic, that we all have our own outlets, and to that end it's kind of hard to even get so many of us in one room together, or the idea of collectivizing anything is a little bit difficult for us. But I'd be interested to see what sorts of responses or ideas people have.
I love that idea. Like if one of us gets silenced, then we all try to speak up for that person. The only thing is right now is that we were all silenced, and I think that so we have no platform to put that out on. But Joe at the Minds Unleashed is actually coming pretty. Like he's coming around and he's sharing all of our stuff and letting people know that these other pages work, which is pretty helpful, And I think that that's helping some of us get our reach back. But that's definitely, had we done that from the beginning for the last few years when we were getting the censorship, when we attacked it a lot harder from the beginning, it would have. I don't know if we'd be in this predicament that we're in right now. Had we been banding together like that and pointing out the censorship of one group over another group instead of charging forward with our own ideas. And like you said, we're all individuals here, most of us, and it's hard to form a collective out of a bunch of individuals. But I look at us now, we're doing it, and we're our backs against the wall, and that's the only option, I believe.
Right, and in the case of Free Thought Project, actually specifically, we did end up with the Rolling Stone article, which was awesome, that Matt at Rolling Stone ended up doing a story that talked about what that outlet was and why that happened. But unfortunately, that was kind of the only mainstream media attention we got to it. And most of the MSM that was reporting on the issue of these deletions didn't really go and quote somebody like Jason or you about why that occurred. So I think we need to actually be prepared for it in advance so that we can get that counter story out quickly and that they'd be forced to actually contact us and ask for comment when it occurs. Anyone else with thoughts?
I was going to say, we have to be careful because Facebook is very aggressive right now, trying
Sure.
to like locate and actually identify pages who are sharing other pages. Me and Nick have been doing that for years, and they slowly but surely caught on to it. First they started to throttle it, but then they ended up just publishing our pages, and some people are affected by that as well, who didn't necessarily, break their terms of service or whatever, but just because they're in association with us. So I would say it's definitely important, but Facebook is, they very easily change, rewrite their own rules all the time, making it more and more arbitrary to the point where they can selectively enforce them. And that's what basically happened to us.
And it seems to me that the co-admin status is the main issue. Is
And
when
for,
people are admins.
Can you repeat the questions on the mic?
Oh, all right. So Jason made the point that basically that what I'm proposing could be dangerous, more or less, because Facebook tends to remove one thing, and then when they find out that different people are associates of one another, they end up censoring those people who are friends to them. And that's a very good point, and it's basically why so many people in this room were taken down in one simultaneous instant 3 months ago. What I'm proposing would certainly not include the idea of co-admin status. I don't think it would be a good idea for us to generally be co-adminning each other's pages in order to fight this, but rather that we sort of more informally have a community where we're prepared to speak out on behalf of one another without it doing it in a way that would automatically trigger Facebook, putting you on the list, so to speak, for guillotining.
Smart in the next session that we all talk about this, try to find one like hub where they all can
right.
get that information together, where it's away from Facebook, obviously.
Mm-hmm. And to that end, like I said, I think that having a professional title or organization for that, like I'd be happy to hear other people's suggestions, but I think that something like the National Association for Independent Journalists, I think would lend some kind of credibility to the issues that we're talking about.
It sounds official too.
It sounds official, right? Exactly. So when you're censored and someone reaches out for comment, well, I'm a member of the, NAIJ or whatever it is. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the problems that we're facing is we're trying to work within the platform of the Facebook that is wholly owned by them. And I think one of the things that's important, like you said, we have the owner of minds.com here. When my Sandy Hook Hoax Facebook page was purged, we wound up going over to MeWe. And of course, it never really garnered the strength that it once had. But if we, if some of us are going to MeWe and some of us are going to Minds and some of us are going here and there and everywhere, it would be nice if we had a cohesive agreement to all move our platform to maybe Minds, since he's involved in this, and then just use Facebook to direct people. If they want to know anything, we're not sharing it on Facebook. You want to know something? Go to Minds. Every day, update. We're going to Minds. Come to Minds. Read our stories. And they might have to delete us in order to stop us, but we need to get a collective movement off of a platform that is censoring us. It's like people have left YouTube. You have 153news.net, you got BitChute, you have other alternative platforms. You don't have any one main one. So everybody goes to YouTube, everybody goes to Facebook, because those are the main ones. We need to strip them of their power collectively. We need to agree on a certain platform, I think, and all of us unite and encourage that migration.
To briefly summarize the comment in case anyone watching online couldn't hear, it was basically saying that in addition to Facebook, we should be kind of swarming over to one other agreed upon alternative, and that maybe Minds is that alternative, especially if he's willing to take suggestions on how to make Minds especially appropriate for the independent media. I would point out, though, that Facebook has 1/6 of the world's population on it, right? It is hard to reach out to new people if we're expecting people to show up on Minds. And my understanding is that Facebook makes it extremely difficult to cross-post from Minds. where when you post a Minds link, it says, you know, basically, are you spam? Are you a robot? Are you sure you're not a robot? I would still like to see Facebook be possibly viable, but I think that Minds is probably a good alternative to do adjacent to it.
Yeah, because you know we don't want to turn it into an echo chamber, and a lot of normies still are on Facebook and Google and Twitter. You know, so yeah, obviously we need to have some kind of coordinated effort. I mean, they can delete our fans, they can delete our pages when they can't prove the demand that we have. You know, people have a strong demand for our information; they're seeking it out. But we just have to be mindful of where we go and what that looks like. I personally like Minds a lot. It's decentralized, it's open source, it's got crypto integration, so I think that's a great way. I mean, all of us here should have a Minds account at this point. But at the same time, you know, it's a double-edged sword. We're just trying to create an echo chamber. We're actually trying to reach people and plant seeds.
Right. So I'll hand the mic over to Nick. But to anybody who's interested in kind of making those proposals go forward, I want to make sure that this event, we actually do the stuff we talk about. We don't just have a great day, you know, giving each other high fives and then not actually do the stuff, right? So if any of those three proposals sort of speak to you, speak to me.
Right on, man.
Thank you, Ford. Ford is fresh out of school, too. He's kicking ass.
Yeah,
24.
24 years old when I was
Nick's going to be next for Lankowski.
Hey, everybody. First off, I just want to compound a little bit on what Ford was talking about as far as creating kind of like a association for our media outlets and for other media outlets that would eventually join in the future. It's an idea I've had for a while, and I've spoken to some of the people in this room about it a few years ago, actually, I think about 3 years ago. At the time, when I first brought it up, I think people weren't really ready for it, you know? The idea didn't come to maturity yet, but now that we're all seeing this really like severe censorship and deplatforming and stuff, I think it's become pretty apparent that we have to begin to associate and formally join together to, first of all, you know, create a professional association that can help represent all of us to the public and to offer counter narratives and also to pool our resources together so that we can have the types of services that these really huge companies who, you know, as other speakers have mentioned, are basically being bankrolled by the MIC and other special interests and stuff like that. So I really want to push for this. I think we need to come together with a media association similar to the Associated Press. I think we can combine that and roll that in with a newswire. You know, Ford and Aaron, Ford and I, we're already on the board of an organization called G3 Media, and we're already kind of proving that this kind of work can be done. We're doing kind of similar stuff on a small scale right now. I think in this room, the Anti-Media, the Mind Unleashed, and Mint Press News are all working with or are getting serviced via G3 Media. So we're already kind of proving that this works on a smaller scale. So I think we can pretty much start scaling it up and maybe create a new organization that we all have representation in. I think the ideal way to do it would be as like a cooperative where each member of this organization will have like a seat at the board up to a certain point, so we all can help govern the direction of it. I think the other thing that we can do with this thing is to create with the Newswire, we can create very professional fact check edited content. I mean, this is something that we all need because we've all made mistakes, and to have better fact checking, better editing and stuff like that is going to help push us, just give us more credibility and more reliability, because there's people who are afraid to share stuff because it's from a alternative media website, just because they're not sure if it's legit or not, So I think an organization like this can help give us more credibility and give us more of like more trust with the general public, the general audience. The other thing here to think about is by pulling together our resources, we can be able to afford to say that we could send somebody like Ford maybe to some place on some side of the country where, you know, me as with my company, the Anti-Media, I can't really afford to send somebody, a journalist, and fly them out and put them in a hotel and have the equipment to go to, you know, let's say Standing Rock, for instance, when that was going on. Through an organization like this, we can kind of all share the burden of the costs, send a correspondent, and that correspondent can basically create content for all of us. And then also we can have footage and photos, and you know, we can the organization can become self-sustainable by licensing the content that's created out of it as well. So, you know, I think these are all things to think about, and I think this meeting maybe will be the time where we can start getting serious about coming together in this way and, you know, kind of lifting ourselves up. So, yeah, basically I just wanted to follow up forward with just some maybe ideas on why this is a good idea. So the second point I want to make is I think I've just gotten to the realization that we can't count on any third parties to deliver our content. So, you know, we've all kind of built up an audience and earned an audience, and it's in my opinion, it's our audience that we've, you know, worked for and that we should have access to. And then all of these third parties are now starting to get in the way. Of course, you got Facebook, the obvious one, Twitter, all these companies. You're going to have financial institutions. You're going to have, you know, even Patreon now is starting to get in the way of people who have, you know, earned pledges from their audience. I could see in the future email services blocking people. So one other thing that we could possibly do with this organization, or even just separately, is we need to start figuring out how to cut out third parties between us delivering our content to our, you know, audience. One way I think we could do this is by developing new tools ourselves, because again, we don't want to depend on outside companies to use their tools, because one day they may decide that they don't want us to connect with our audience anymore, or that the company that we use, the tool we use, may get bought out by another company. Facebook may buy out the company, Google may buy out the company, and they may decide, hey, we don't want these people connecting with their audience. So what I think we need to develop are tools to help us directly connect. One idea would be to make like a simple WordPress plugin that would send text messages, push notifications to our audience as soon as we create content. And then also apps and things like that we can kind of create in-house together. Again, going back to the idea of sharing the cost of these types of tools that we create, because it would be hard for me to go out, spend the money to make that myself. But if we all kind of pitched in and did it, it would make it a lot easier. We can all share in these tools. That's basically it. I think the main idea here is that we can't trust any company to connect us to our audience. So we have to have a direct connection with in-house tools that we build ourselves, or make use of open source tools that are already in existence. Some of them already exist, and the most sought after notification, I guess you would say right now, is the push notification. If someone gets a text message to their phone every time you post an article or a video or create a piece of content, I mean that has replaced email as like the most effective, most likely to be opened notification. And so that's where we should be looking. And then, looking at this idea of a social network, of course, I'm a huge fan of Minds. Bill, if you're still listening, if we make this association happen, we'd love to talk about maybe, as Ford mentioned, making a news section on Minds and kind of having some form of partnership here where we can help provide a newswire for Minds. That would be a really cool, boost for us, and maybe a cool feature for you guys. The other thing, though, a social network really is just people connecting, right? There's in-person social networks, your group of friends that you have, your people at work. These are all social networks. We can start thinking about social networking in an agnostic way, where we can say, look, here's a piece of content. Again, going back to the idea of pushing it to someone's phone, make it easy for that person. If we make this content, platform agnostic, where you get a push notification, you get a piece of content, and if that person, like right now, what people do is they share it on Facebook. If someone thinks their friends may find interest in a piece of content, whether it's a meme or an article or a video, they share it on Facebook because they think their friends might be interested. we start making this content platform agnostic, where they get a push to their phone. The content can be just text messaged, or sent through Facebook Messenger, or sent on WhatsApp, or even posted back on Facebook, on Twitter. We make this content, easily shareable, connected directly to people's phones, and make it so that they could just straight up forward it to their friends that they think really want to see it. I think this is the future because, look, face it, there's Facebook fatigue. Like, everybody I know hates Facebook, but they still use it because everyone else is on there, right? But over time, I think, and there's already been, the data is already showing Facebook is losing users, especially in the US. I mean, they're declining. And I'm not sure that there is going to be one big push where it was like MySpace to Facebook, where it just everyone switches over. I really don't think that's going to happen. I think there's actually going to be like a splintering. You got kids using Instagram, Snapchat. People are going to Minds, people are going on Steemit. Like, there's going to be a splintering. I really don't know. I don't think there's going to be one shift to one new place. As much as I would like there to be a huge shift over to Minds, because we've already built up a pretty good audience over there, and I think there will be a big shift to Minds, but not everybody. I think it's important to make the content in a different way, where it's just we connect direct to our audience, they get the content, and they can share it easily to their outlet of choice, to their platform of choice, to whatever social network they choose to use. And I think this is going to be the future for us for creating content. And also, again, it gets us out of the crosshairs. It gets us out of the weak point, which is relying on creating kind of influencer profiles on these, third-party companies. That's, I think, the way of the past. The way of the future is going to be just creating this content, letting people organically share it wherever they want, wherever they have their, wherever they exist online. And that's pretty much all I want to say, guys. Thank you.
All right, so we do have some people that are going to be speaking online a little bit. We're going to go all the way up till noon and take our lunch break. One thing I just wanted to add to what Nick said, that is an idea that's not perfect. We need somebody to create a decentralized version of this. But as far as direct communication with your audience, one thing that I've been doing for the last 2 years, and I did get temporarily banned from it, so as I said, it's not perfect, is this texting app called remind.com. And it's meant for teachers and students. But I use it as a journalist, so you can create classes. So I have Derick Broze Journalism. And anybody can sign up via email or just with their phone number. And every day I put new video, new article, title, link, and it goes directly to their phone and to their text message. So it totally circumvents them relying on social media. Things like that and email newsletters are the way that we're really going to cultivate a direct relationship with our audience. And whether your Facebook page goes down or not, you still, at one point we actually had about 400 people on the anti-media text list. But I think they thought I was spamming because we have so many articles. I was scheduling articles throughout the day, and then they eventually shut down the account. So it's like I said, it's not perfect, but I'm sure there are other tools out there like that, and that is a direct way to communicate. So we're going to hear next.
We gotta build our own plugins to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, what was the name of the
Remind.com. We need some of the tech side. That's why we have some people here who might be more on the tech side of things, little tech savvy, to take these ideas that we can think of and put them into action, and we'll promote them, we'll use them. Next, we're going to hear from Ryan DeSoma, Stand Up 9/11 on Instagram.
What's up, everybody? Let's see. Can you guys hear me good? So I want to go over pretty much some solutions here. I think we kind of already have an idea of what's going on in society and the censorship and all that stuff. So I just want to pretty much go over solutions and what I do as an individual and what I see we could all be doing collectively. So I'll start off what I've been doing. Like I said before, I do an international event called Meeting of the Mind. It's called the Conscious Networking event. So essentially what we're doing here, I kind of do everywhere. I bring all different aspects of people, groups of people together, whether you're an activist, a journalist, a healer, a holistic doctor, meditation, yoga, vegan, whatever it is. I bring all different musicians, artists, and so forth. I literally bring all different communities together who are looking to learn, to grow, to create communities in their local area, to just whatever it is. I feel like that's why we're all here right now and what we all kind of envision later on. One thing I wholeheartedly believe in is in unity. And any shadow government, Illuminati, any of these figures out there, governments and so forth, organized crime. What's it called? The one thing that they all have in common is creating division amongst the people. That's all they do. So I want to kind of, like as above, so below, positive, negative. I want to do the opposite of that and bring unity to all the people. So it's understanding and respecting different views and belief systems. We're not all here to have the same belief. We're not all here to have the same views. We're here to grow and just to be compassionate and understanding. Sorry, I'm an introvert, I'm nervous and excited at the same time up here. What's it called? Even though I gotta host fucking events and talk in front of people constantly, always nervous. Anyway, so my event, Meeting of the Minds, something I would love for you guys to all check out, be a part of, get involved, whatever it is. Another thing is entrepreneurship, is learning how to create revenue in a sustainable way, in a mindful way. We all know about the private banking system and all that. I don't have to get into that and stuff. We're not going to change tomorrow. Rome wasn't built in one day. The whole ideology, even Bitcoin and all that stuff. It's creating a shift, learning each and every day. We're here to learn and grow. If we can use the private banking system money, which we all do right now, we're all hypocrites in that sense and stuff. If we could use that in a more mindful, sustainable way, that's what we need to do. And then start to learn how to barter again, start to get into cryptocurrency. We do that all collectively and stuff. So what I'm getting at is learning how to vote and spend your dollar. It's pretty much the most powerful way to create change, to make our voices heard. Instead of shopping at, big corporations, McDonald's and so forth and stuff, shop local, go to the farmers market and stuff like that. I know I'm kind of preaching to the chorus, but we really need to drive this message home and stuff, is to support local people. There's holistic doctors out there who are extremely suppressed in all aspects. These people can help heal and change people, but you know who their target market is? It's mostly out of all of our communities. These people will work with you, network, build bridges and stuff like that. This is a way that we could create revenue through our channels, and doing it in a mindful, sustainable way where we're creating actual conscious communities. And that's just one example with holistic healers. I have a CBD oil company, there's clothing lines, there's all different aspects of businesses out there that we should be supporting, and we can actually create like a conscious business type platform and stuff using our individual platforms. Let's see what else, and censorship. So I know we just went through that huge purge on Facebook. I'm mainly on Instagram. I've been an activist on there for 8 to 10 years. I'm actually the first awareness account on Instagram. And one thing that I really respect about our community on there is how we all share each other's content, how we come together, we support each other. So when we went through a purge about 3 to 4 years ago, and it was like Dilute the Power, True Society, Seek the Truth, Vegan Takeover, all these accounts probably equal 4 to 5 million worth of followers 4 to 5 years ago. They were all deleted overnight. Now, luckily, I know somebody who is a world-profound surfer. I'll just keep his name anonymous, but he's a really dope guy. He knows somebody that worked for Instagram and was able to get these accounts back. Some of them didn't get back, but they were able to build their following right back to kind of where they were because we cross-networked. They already knew who that individual was or whatever it is through all of our platforms. So when I was like, hey, Dilute the Power, whoever it was, got shut down, deleted, here's his backup account, 80,000 out of my 200,000 followers already knew who the fuck they were, and they just went back and followed them. That's why it's so important to build bridges and share and support each other, because if you're just kind of standing as an individual, you're only going to go so far, and that's a metaphor for all aspects of life. When we start sharing each other's content, supporting however it is, then we actually create unity and whatnot. And a perfect example of this, or like a metaphor, not a metaphor, but whatever, how we could replicate this is just look what mainstream media is doing it and do it in a positive, inspiring way. Because they already set the stage and the platform on how to work together and everything like that, whether we agree with their narrative or not, their actual structure is what we need to do just in our network and our platforms and stuff. Support each other. It would even be dope to have live debates. It doesn't have to be a disagreeing debate or anything, but that's cool too. But either way, just support each other. Everything out there right now, we live in abundance, literally right now. All the technology, everything is out there right now. It's just coming together, utilizing it, having some structure and organization. I'm a Virgo. I love organization and structure. I'm also an anarchist, so I love just doing whatever the fuck I want at the same time when I want. So I kind of get that. You have to bring balance to that. But we have a real opportunity right now. the only reason why we're being censored is because of the information we're sharing and what we're actually doing. They have to combat that and stuff. That's something that we should really humble and ground ourselves to realize, like, we are actually creating the positive shift in society right now. Everybody here, everybody watching, wherever they are and stuff, we've dedicated our lives to helping humanity. It's time to actually like acknowledge that if we haven't really embraced and acknowledged that, and come together and actually build the next shift. What I'm saying right now, I know the government hates because they don't want us to empower ourselves. They don't want us to believe in ourselves. They want us to be like undermined, whatever it is and stuff. So sorry, I'm getting fucking nervous as I do this again. But either way, yeah, I don't know what else I should talk about. Huh? Oh yeah, cross promotion. So, you know, I'm big on Instagram. I don't have that much. I don't even really use Facebook, very rarely and stuff. But it'd be dope to start cross sharing, to get whoever's big on Facebook, get them on Instagram. Whoever on Instagram, get on Facebook. Let's cross share and stuff like that. Just to create more platforms. Oh, another thing I kept hearing is like, get off Facebook, get off Instagram, get off Twitter, get off these main platforms. It's not the way to go about it. It's utilizing all resources and expanding to all other new platforms and stuff. Because it's not rational to think like day-to-day people are going to just get off Facebook or Instagram and go to another thing. It's not how it works. We built our followers through their platforms, and we're reaching people who are, some people who really don't even give a fuck in reality, but they saw something, it caught their eye, they clicked follow type of deal. Those are the people that we need to like work with and engage with. Those are also the people that you need to be mindful of who you talk and how you talk to people. Because if you go out and call them a sheeple or say something kind of degrading, they're never going to open their mind. You're going to build a wall instantly. We all know what walls do. It divides people at the end of the day. And so we need to tear down all walls on all different dimensions, levels, whatever it is, and actually build unity. So, yeah, I have a lot to say. I'm just a nervous wreck right here talking about this. But, again, connect with me. My name's Ryan DeSoma, Stand Up 9/11 on Instagram. I hold events already. I think this is beautiful that we finally came together and did this. Derick's been to my event, Justin Harvey's been to my event, Dan's been to my event. It's a life-changing event. And I hate talking about my own event. I'd rather let actions speak louder than words. But I promise you, go to one of my events, it will change your life. When you come into a room similar to this, with all different communities right there willing to learn and grow, it's life-changing. So anyway, love you guys.
That's Stand Up 9/11 on Instagram, and Ryan is not... he's not lying that he definitely has a huge follower on Instagram. If you're not on there, it's not really my bag, but for those who are on there, and that's where a lot of people are, definitely connect with Ryan as far as trying to do share-to-shares, which is, you know, just a note on that. Some of you have been around long enough where we remember when our pages were coming up, we did the share-to-share thing where we were regularly cross-promoting and sharing each other's things. That's probably something we should get back to in these kinds of things, not just cross Facebook to Facebook, but across platforms and really helping each other and build. And I think a big part of us establishing these relationships and these networks is that so when Ford's out there on the streets live streaming and he gets arrested for something, that we then hit up our indie news coalition or whatever it is that we come, you know, to agreement on, and then it spreads through all of our networks very quickly. You know, when one of us is in trouble, when one of us is in danger, or there's a pressing story that we need to get out, we can use all of our collective networks to get it out. So more collaboration is necessary. We got Justin Harvey now coming up from We Are Change Orlando.
All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Justin Harvey with We Are Change Orlando. I also do work with GMO Free Florida. So we host the March Against Monsanto. I've been involved with activism, journalism for about 5 years now. Specifically, our pages have faced a lot of censorship that we've been taking the hit on the streets because, you know, our main source of like getting people out to this stuff was Facebook. And we had events that would have, you know, thousands of people attending and everyone's getting the notifications years ago, as we all know, to it just being throttled down to essentially nothing. So we've really taken the hit on that side of things. I guess I'm more like I said, on like the ground, street level thing. I know my other buddy here, the Cop Block guy, is kind of in the same boat. And I kind of just want to like throw myself out there to everyone here and sort of just ask for help and just bridge us more from the activists to the journalist sides. So for instance, when we have like the March Against Monsanto happening and we can coordinate something and get all of the alternative media pages to talk about it more. And obviously, I know you guys do. I mean, I know Free Thought Project and the press is always talking about the Million Mass March, which I'm very involved with, and the March Against Monsanto. But just to build those relationships more. Like right now, it's just a big mess with this whole yellow vest thing. I've been really trying to coordinate with people. I'm in groups and just trying to find a contact for each city and getting people to post their events and do it in a cohesive manner. Is just a big mess, and everyone's fighting censorship, and everyone's got their own lives. And it's it would be nice if we could just have that outlet. And I'm willing to take, you know, sort of the responsibility on myself in this aspect of like, I want to be that, I guess, liaison kind of guy. Like I've kind of put myself in a lot of circles to where I want to be able to reach out to Free Thought and be like, hey, I've got the organizer in this city, and you guys want to do an interview on the story. Boom, we can put you here. Just like I help with Luke with stuff. Like, for instance, he's in France right now. I just got him a translator to try to help him at the protest. So just stuff like that. For instance, if we get up on, let's say we do something with Minds and we have this new alternative media feed, maybe we have like an activist street level arm of it, and we can feed in like you know, protest dates and march locations. That's sort of kind of what I want to bring to the table here. So please, like, you know, if we are friends on Facebook, I've got a card. You know, take my information down. Let's connect. I also just want to, you know, second everything that's been said here today. I totally agree with moving off of these platforms that we don't agree with on so many levels, but at the same time, I'm also a guy that likes to hit them from all angles. You know, some people say, oh, well, protesting doesn't work, or this doesn't work. Well, I think it all works. I think everybody has their own skill. We all have assets and things that we like to pay attention to detail with. So we do everything at the same time. So if we have the resources, I think we should hit them. Stay on Facebook if you have someone that can stay at that and keep stuff in front of the masses while we work on, you know, other solutions as well. So I think it's important to do it all, and I'm glad to be a part of this. I want to, you know, be a resource any way that I can with people on the streets. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should mention. I don't know. Yeah, I just hope that we can keep fighting the censorship and become stronger. If anybody wants to talk to me afterwards, feel free. You can find me on Instagram. That's another thing too, is I help Ryan a lot and a lot of other people on Instagram with trying to funnel a lot of this information, you know, through to them, or get their stuff crossed over to Facebook so we can bridge the gaps between the social media platforms as well. So if you guys want to get more like into the Instagram world with like Ryan and stuff too, you can reach out to me as well. I'm on there at jharveywrc for those watching. And if anybody's in Florida or Orlando, also please reach out. We do a lot of vegan activism, feeding the homeless stuff, whether it's in South Florida, Central Florida. We're out there as much as we possibly can. So reach out to me on Facebook, Justin Harvey. We Are Change Orlando on Facebook, on YouTube. And thank you guys so much for having me today.
Definitely hit up Justin if you get anywhere near Florida. Does lots of good work down there. We're going to hear next from E.J. Clinton, who's with the Freedom Faction. And we've got a few more on the list. And then again, we will be taking a lunch break at noon. And then I think when we come back from lunch, there will be a few more presentations. And then after that, it's pretty much open to how we organically want to go about it. Some people have said, hey, maybe we should have a breakout session for those who want to focus on the new Indie Newswire. For those who want to, you know, we can decide organically how we want to continue discussions of the presentations after lunch. But we'll hear from EJ now. Thank you guys for all your patience this morning, and for everybody who's patient with us online.
Salutations, people. I had a whole script typed up and ready to go, but I'm not going to use that. I like everything I'm hearing today, from alternative solutions to effective outcomes to potentialities. I like what I'm hearing. I kind of want to touch on what he said, the previous guest, or the previous speaker. I do think that we should use every single tool at our disposal. Starting out, I had all of my content on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon, TuneIn Radio, all these different places. And I think it's imperative that we use every single one of these resources. You have Vero, Halanis, Minds, Steemit, MeWe, Gab. You have all these other amazing alternative media platforms spawning because the Tower of Babel Facebook is exploding. This is a momentous moment. MySpace is gone. Facebook is dying. This allows for us to effectively find the next alternative. I was told that we have the creator of Minds here. I think that's a fantastic alternative to Facebook, but that's not the only thing that we need. We need an alternative to Twitter. We need an alternative to YouTube. Brighteon or Real.video as made by Mike Adams of Natural News. We need to invade all these platforms. I operate primarily on Instagram. I know this year I will be taken off. If not, thank you. But that's not going to stop me from doing everything I can to diversify the message that people need to get the content. And what I mean by that is getting a newsletter, a weekly podcast, both video and audio. And this is just what I'm doing. I don't have like a solution for everybody. I'm just trying to talk about how I'm taking the shotgun approach and trying to do as much as I can to make sure people get the information. And I think that's what we're supposed to do. I think people want like a set in stone solution, and that's not what's going to happen. We're in a fight. We're in a war on consciousness. Every single one of us here knows this. And that's why we can't find like a definite solution, because we're having to innovate. We're having to adjust. We're having to adapt. We're having to overcome every single obstacle that comes at us. And that's what I'm saying. I like what I'm hearing here. We have so many heavy hitters, it's crazy to think about. But I don't want to go down that path. My point is this: we are making history. We are changing things. We are changing how people speak and act by having these kinds of meetings, summits, where we come together and show this kind of solidarity and unity. That scares a lot of people who don't know how to think for themselves. And I'm sure you're all very well aware of that. As independent thinkers, and people who are conscious about what's going on, we have a generational obligation and a generational duty to transcend our current circumstances. These censorship, we're get used to it. It's not going away. What will affect this is our approach towards it, and this right here is an effective approach towards it. There's nothing I can say other than thank you for having me on. I see that we have a chart which displays how many, how 6 corporations own the media. None of us own anything. We're powered by the people. Like, that's why we do this. That's why I do what I do. I can't think of anything else to do other than be here for people. I wouldn't want to submit myself to anything else. Like, this is our reality. And so we're already doing more by simply showing up and stepping into the fight. That's all I really have. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you, Jason and Derick, for putting this amazing event on. I can't wait to be here with you guys again. And I'm very excited to see what we do. It's my little tagline that I say on my podcast. Expose lies and share truth. Stay vigilant, gang.
You guys awesome. He interviewed me a couple months ago after the purge, and like I instantly knew he just had like the passion and the hunger to do this. So I'm really glad he made it out today. And everybody, get out your phone right now. Just go on Instagram and follow Freedom Faction, please. He has a great outlet there.
I'm on Facebook. I call it Fedbook. I'm on Fedbook as well. It's Factions of Freedom.
Please, let's support each other here. So Tony, what's up next? Tony? Yes, sir.
There's still donuts.
Bunch more donuts. Anybody wants them. Let's not let this go.
How you doing? My name is Tony Mead, and I am a Sandy Hook researcher. You may not all understand the importance of Sandy Hook, but it is a turning point in censorship. I became the administrator of the Sandy Hook Hoax Facebook page in April of 2013. And as such was a centralized location of all the information that was being exposed about the lies that we had been told by mainstream media. They had pretty much allowed our page to continue for about 5 years, although, you know, I was banned several times. The page was taken down, but reinstated. But I think it's kind of a sad thing. there was a gentleman who did the second presentation who has to use, Howard, has to use a nom de plume for fear of retaliation for exposing truth and exposing the lies that media tells us. And I've been a victim of that as well. There are web pages dedicated to harassing me, my family members, my business. How sad is that we don't have the right to speak freely in our society? And who is responsible for the harassment of someone who's outspoken against the government? Is it the believers of the media lies, or is it the government itself? We may never know, but we are certainly victims of this repression. I was involved in a group called Independent Media Solidarity, who produced a documentary called We Need to Talk About Sandy Hook. It was placed on IMDb. It was a major production, millions of views, and then completely censored to the point now where you can barely find it. YouTube censorship eliminated almost all information on Sandy Hook other than the mainstream media narrative that Adam Lanza killed 20 children and 6 adults on December 14th, 2012. And I don't think that this stuff came about as happenstance. As we know, one of the main goals of the powers that be is order out of chaos. And in order to create this order, you need to create the chaos. What we're seeing now in this massive purge of truth and alternative media is that the internet is the true enemy of the state. The internet allows for the freedom of exchange of information, right? And what that does is allows us to counteract the mainstream media, which for decades, if not centuries, has controlled the minds of the people, you know? It's so much easier to convince people to act in a certain way by manipulating their thought process than it is through violence, which is war. That's why we haven't had as much war. We just have the social manipulation through media is the best arm of the state to control how people behave and react. So these are big agendas. They're not small things, as we saw in the chart, the Council on Foreign Relations and the other groups that are at the helm controlling media, really controlling the populace. What we're here to do is combat that. The reason that we're here is that we've all been restricted in being able to speak our mind, to be able to have a voice. A true democracy is founded on listening to the voice of the people. The people direct the government. Unfortunately, we're no longer in that state, especially not in this country. You know, we're at a place where the government tells us how to think, and we either comply or we are censored and denied our opportunity to participate. So, you know, I've experienced these problems throughout the last few years. I've been censored. I've been banned on Facebook 5 times. That's 150 days in 2018. My page was taken down for speaking out about these media falsehoods that we see, you know, the Parkland school shooting, 9/11, Boston bombing, Sandy Hook, all these things that are, you know, you are either to comply with what we say or your voice is going to be silenced. So, you know, how do we combat that? There's been a lot of good solutions working within the system, such as legally. Like Peter had some great ideas on how to combat Facebook, stepping away from the platforms that are obviously controlled, be it by liberalism or globalism or whatever the agenda may be. Stepping away from those platforms I see as a solution. There are some alternative platforms out there that are effective. MeWe, Minds. For videos, you have 153news.net. Jason Boss has been very gracious to us to allow us uncensored channels. There are ways to step aside and step away from that. How do we steer the population to view these alternative platforms is where the problem begins, you know? We all know that if you post something on Facebook, you can get 1 million views. If you post something on YouTube, you can get millions of views. If you post something on BitChute or 153news.net or MeWe or Minds, you're lucky to get a couple hundred people involved.
So I think what we need to do, Peter Klein and I are the co-founders of Independent Media Solidarity. You can visit our website. And we've always had the vision of creating a conspiracy, shall we say, of people to come together collectively to be a force that can combat this powers that be, the mainstream media, ABC News, CNN, and all these other mainstream media outlets that stick to one narrative over and over. I'm sure you've all seen the video where every newscaster across the station says the Easter Bunny has a little more pep in his step this season, or whatever it may be. They all say the same thing over and over. We want to bring the alternative to that together, because we all know that individually we are powerless, but together we can change the world. And I'm very grateful to have been invited to this. I'm happy to meet and discuss any ideas with all you people, and I'm very blessed to have been a part of this. Thank you for listening.
I was Tony Mead. So we're about 12 minutes till lunch. We have a couple more people left on it, but do you guys just want to go ahead and break? Or we have Eleanor left and like 2 other people who signed up to speak. Does anybody else want to speak before lunch, or just take lunch now? Votes, hands, anything?
Take lunch now.
Take lunch now? There is a food truck parked in the parking lot that has vegan tacos and other food out there for those who are interested. And that's like, there's also lots of other food close by, but so we're going to start the call again at 1:30 and continue at 1:30, all right? Around that 1:15-ish, around that time, okay? Thank you, guys.
Trying to lose my winter coat that I put on over in November. Thank you.
Yeah, just leave this charging.
Oh yeah.
So many subjects.
Yeah. Like what eBay said, there's no, this is still an option. You just have to keep going, you know. So it's true.
I have cameras, like everyone, and I'm happy to do the because I'm still here tomorrow without anything to do. Yeah, so we can check it out. And,